Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects, yes, there we go. And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, @agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings.
Representing BK to the fullest.
Nice. I keep saying it, but...
Oh,
what's up?
hold on.
Wow. There we go. Okay. There we go. Yeah, it must be, like I said, I keep saying this, must be nice to come from a place where you're represented in songs so often. Positively, I should also say.
Right. Positively and negatively, you know.
Well,
A little bit behind the scenes, folks. Just before the show, you know, in the pre-show, I was listening to the new Nas album, King's Disease 3, and there's actually a track in which I believe it's called Hood to Hood, where Nas shouts out the different neighborhoods in, you know, Queens and Brooklyn that just various neighborhoods, and I kind of got a kick out of that. I was like, oh, okay, you know. So he's doing a little bit of olive branch diplomacy here.
Yeah.
You know, hood to hood. But at the same time, there's also another track where he takes kind of rephrases South Bronx by BDP.
Huh. Okay.
You know, taking what K.R.S. once said about Queens, because obviously, you know, Shan lost that battle. So, but anyway, sorry to hijack the show with some music stuff.
It's fine. I feel like people expect it by now.
Yep.
Knowing us. But okay, that really didn't work, did it? Huh? All right, cool. But yeah, while we're here doing the intros, you can also find us on this podcast. You can find us on, You can also find us on the CSPN. That's Cold Closer Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Closer Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. You can also find us recording live most times every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and give us all the 5-star reviews.
Yep. Shout out to Benji Games 2 in the chat and everybody else that is maybe in the chat, whether you're lurking or not. All that kind of good stuff. And I guess we will go ahead and just run headlong into the start of the show, which will be a very spoiler-free impressions of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, since we have both seen it.
Wakanda Forever!
Exactly.
That's why we're recording today, folks. We were on Movie Protocol yesterday, and some of us actually got to see it twice.
Yes, that did happen.
You know, you can kind of tell who did, but you know, I had the benefit of listening to some podcasts in the aftermath of my viewing, so I have a pretty good take on the movie right now. You know, a pretty good idea of what I think of the movie right now after having heard other people really talk about it and having had the chance to really talk about it after the movie with the crew I was with last night. Yeah, we did both see it, so we're going to ring the spoiler bell, because if you are not interested in hearing anything about the movie, if you are one of those folks that don't want to hear anything beyond what you may have seen in the trailers, I definitely stayed away from the trailers and commercials once we got 2 weeks out from release date. So I sympathize with you. So in that vein, possible spoilers, but we're going to keep it as spoiler free as possible. Incoming in 3, 2, 1.
So,
all right.
So I think we should start off by you, Agent 70, telling me what you told people.
In my spoiler-free note.
Yes.
Right. So I'm going to pull that up. I posted it to the social, so you can follow me at agent_70 on Insta. And I did post that there. So what I'm going to do is read this exactly as it's written. So if you want to follow me on Insta, you can find me at agent_70. It is a public account. You're welcome to follow. This is what I wrote. Go see Wakanda Forever. I just got back, and it is quite literally chock full of story and developments that move the MCU forward while concluding the current phase. Keep in mind that it is 2 hours and 40 minutes long, so watch your beverage intake. So that is as spoiler-free as it gets, folks. Other than the runtime, which can be kind of a spoiler if you're keeping track of that stuff. But at 2 hours and 40 minutes, good luck figuring that one out.
Right. And I'm just going to add, so we can just get the stuff that people kind of usually want to talk about or get out of the way. There is a mid-credit scene, but there is no end credit scene.
Correct.
So... Like once you start seeing, the black background and the names floating by, you're good.
Yeah, the long scroll, right? The long scrolling credits, right? That's how you have to remember to differentiate. Exactly. I mean, once you get to the mid credits, you already know that it's, if you really need to go to the bathroom, that's your opportunity. Once that's over.
There is that also. That being said,
what were your impressions, spoiler free?
I'm just going to say that I did enjoy it, even if I had not seen it the second time, but I did pick up on like one or two little things that I didn't, because I try to, as Agent 70 knows, I try to go in with as much intent paid to it, try to pick up everything I can, because there's no telling whether I will get back to see the movies again. It just so happened to be, in this time, this is one of the few times where that actually happened, where I could see it more than one time. Specifically before we talk about it also. But I enjoyed the movie. It definitely it is definitely will grab you by the feels in a couple of spots where you did not expect. Well, let me phrase that, where you did expect, actually.
Right.
So
well, you did and
didn't, exactly,
because I think that's fair.
Yes,
that is a fair assessment. Because there are definitely some unexpected times when the feels will come up and bite you.
Yeah, and from at the beginning and near the end, there's a couple of key points where that happens. Like I said, without saying too much more than that.
Exactly.
I don't think there will be too many people disappointed in this movie. I know there's always going to, we talked about it before the show, there's always going to be those people for one reason or another, but I do not believe that if you were a fan of the first one, I think you will still not be disappointed with this. Obviously, knowing, if things were different, this would probably be a slightly different movie. Probably be a way different movie. But, or maybe in some ways not, because I was thinking about that, and I won't go into like specific stuff, but like, I don't know, there are some things that probably would have still could have and probably would have still happened, had like Chadwick had not passed.
Right. And obviously the script for this was definitely different. Right. And it's not a spoiler to say that Namor features prominently in this movie. And What I will say is that in had in an alternate timeline, and with Chadwick Boseman not succumbing to his illness, this would have been possibly the third movie in the Black Panther trilogy, with a Namor being featured, depending on the production times. You know what I mean?
I kind of wondered. Yeah, you're probably right. Like they would have done another story and then done this
they
one.
would have adapted, right? Because the source material for Black Panther features Namor prominently in more recent times, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a newer vintage Black Panther story, and we're talking AVX, folks. AVX is not that long ago.
Actually, yeah, I was about to say there is some parts of stuff before AVX, but yes, correct. Giving
but that's primarily where this is adapted.
Right.
Aspects of the story, not the whole story, but aspects of the story are adapted from.
Right.
And so, ultimately, right. And before that, obviously, there's the whole, king, monarch against monarch, right? Like the way they dealt with each other as fellow Avengers and fellow characters in the Marvel universe, and so. That was developed, well before AVX, but ultimately that's the way I saw it. And, I think that would be, a great way to kind of tie up a Black Panther trilogy. So it's a shame that we didn't get that. That would be my assessment of, kind of like the overall telling of the Black Panther story. Because it's a shame that we didn't get the story that Coogler wanted to tell and to save Namor for the third movie.
But yeah, but it can probably say that I don't think we've seen the last of Namor. I don't think that would be.
Oh no, for sure. No, but my point being, right? Point being that would have been the time to bring, that type of story in.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah.
So I will say that other kind of non-spoilery things that I would add is that Tenoch Huerta does an excellent job, in my opinion, and most of the people in my crew agreed with me, of portraying this version of Namor with strong hints, very strong hints of like being able to develop chemistry with female leads, which makes me think if they do introduce possible Fantastic Four tie-ins, that's gonna be off the chain.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll leave that at
you didn't get that?
No, I totally did. No. I mean, people were saying it before the movie.
Right. We're not trying to spoil anything, folks.
Right.
But there's like an aspect of the story where the crew I was with were talking about. I was like, "Yo, you didn't catch some chemistry there? Like, that they were kind of teasing a little.
Like they could have, right. Like, yeah. See, he's a I was trying to think of the word. He's for lack of a better word, he has a magnetic charm.
Yeah.
He can be.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
So I definitely second the prop to him for that. Now I will say, and this is there were a kind of, and this is just me as a comic book person, which, as we said, Age of 71 and I were talking before the show. Like sometimes in this case, with any MCU movie, you kind of have to let some things go. As far as cards,
you have to compartmentalize it, put it aside, flush it out.
Yeah. Yes, and part of it meant like there were a couple of side characters, or there was a couple of background characters, you might as well say, with Namor that I kind of wish they had like brought up a little bit more. But at the same time, what I didn't say was Age of 7. I feel like he's probably going to end up building his own movie. I think that's going to happen.
Possibly.
And maybe then they'll kind of broach that topic, because it's like, especially one of them is like, well, they didn't even, is this person actually a relation to him? that those of us, of a certain vintage would know. And will this other person become, which they didn't do anything on that front. They could flip it for all I don't know. So either way, I'm curious as to where they're going to what they're going to do with those folks, if anything, or with any of them going forward. We know they have plans for at the very least Namor. So, but
otherwise, I think. I thought that the Disney Plus of it all was, to me, a little bit of a hindrance. Just a touch.
You know what? That reminds me.
Right?
Yeah.
Just a touch.
That reminds me of something else I was going to mention to you, because they did a thing that I really... I'm not going to say I hate, but I know it's a thing that you see in either TV shows or movies or whatever the case. It's like that's not how that would even go. A certain thing happened near the end of the movie, and it's like that would be the end of it right there. That would just stop things.
Yeah. Someone gets punched in the chest. I'm like, you did.
Well, there's that, but there was another similar moment to that.
I laughed. I was like, "Oh snap!"
Right, but it was like he punched through the thing. He was like he
had some protection, but I'm like, "Yo, that's not."
I agree with you there, because at first I was like, "Oh snap!" But we don't.
Yeah, I was like, "Yo, you did." I was I was in shock. I was like, "What?"
There was a weird in that moment and another moment. There in that moment specifically, but also in another thing that we had already talked about, there was a whole Dragon Ball Z in this of. I was like, Coogler's really kind of get his Dragon Ball Z love out there.
Yeah.
Because if you've seen the trailer, you know one thing. If you know Dragon Ball Z, now I know that somebody's going to be like, no, that's the thing that's predates Dragon Ball Z, and it's a cultural thing, and da 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 da. And I'm sure it is, and I'm pretty sure that's where Toriyama got it from. But still, in the cultural zeitgeist, the first thing people are going to go to when they see that motion is a Kamehameha or a Hadouken, one of the two.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say Street Fighter as well.
Yeah. So people think they're all uppity. It was like, well, no, you're not. Shut up. Just shut up. But otherwise, that just to kind of wrap up the our impressions of this before we actually get, because we could get very spoilery right now. We're not going to do it. But
right, we're skirting the edges, folks. Yeah. We definitely are, because once I got the recommendation and the completely spoiler free stuff, we're definitely getting a little closer to talking about actual things you may not want to know before coming in.
Yes. So if you have any notions to go see the movie, by all means, please do. I see.
Yeah, you should.
I see already it did quite well, even in the first day.
Yeah, you should, folks. You definitely should go see this movie. At the end of the day, just be prepared. It's important for the people who are non-superhero movie fans or even comic book fans to know how long it is, so that they're prepared. Mm-hmm. Right? It's just an important thing.
Maybe take some tissue, because somebody might be chopping onions in there, and it might be cold, and you might get sniffles or something.
Yeah, pretty much. It happened to me, happened to people around me. So it's definitely going to happen to at least a few people in your theater.
Yeah. And speaking of things that happen in the theater, there was 4 or 5 people. I was one of the only people that was masked up. And when I went by myself, there was 4 or 5 people around in various parts of the coughing and whatnot.
Oh. I was masked up. I was masked up.
Yeah.
Amongst my crew, I was probably the only one masked up, but no one said anything.
Right.
So,
and even the viewing I saw earlier today, or with my wife, there was 1 or 2 people kind of coughing or whatnot. It was like, come on, man, stay your asses home. If you've seen my Twitter in the last day, you saw my very slightly amped up a tweet about that particular part of my movie going experience.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, folks.
yeah.
So we are going to transition from Wakanda Forever to some more spoiler light discussion of the 10th episode of the Star Wars limited series. Well, it is a limited series, but it is season 1.
I was about to say,
of a limited
I would say it stops being a limited series if we don't know, or if we know we're not getting any more. If we get into season 2, it's technically a series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Star Wars series Andor. So I'm going to ring the spoiler bell again because some people just don't have the time or don't make the time until the weekend to watch these things. So here we go. Spoilers incoming in 3, 2, 1 for Andor, episode 10.
So the last couple of episodes, actually, I don't even remember. I don't know if this thing even has the name of it, and it probably didn't. I don't know. But regardless, this is where the last couple of episodes led up to.
Yes. And we were thinking last week, and over the last couple of weeks, because we've become aware over the course of watching this series that the creators broke up the story into 3-episode blocks, so 3-episode arcs, right? And knowing that this is the opening episode of the final arc, we were wondering if they were going to draw out a certain sequence. Turns out they did not.
Right. Yeah. Like things kind of happen in a succession, just like you would think they would.
Things happen in this episode, I thought, much quicker than I thought they would. But at the end of the day, it worked out. The way it was told was so well done, so effective. And obviously, Andor's been locked up. He's been locked up, and they have not wanted to let him out for a while.
I ain't got to worry about that now. But yes, I want to say first and foremost, I don't think, and he does get his props, but Andy Serkis deserves his props. Dude acted his ass off. Like he shows, like, granted, when you see him and he's into his bag, he's into his bag, and he pretty much anything he's done, he puts the capital A in acting, and he did so in this particular episode. So props to that dude.
He makes a great speech that is broadcast.
So, and there was no Precious talk, so you don't have to worry about that. And and he wasn't running vibranium either, so you don't have to worry about the
no SoundCloud links.
Yes, exactly. No South American accent, or African accent to speak of. Just him going at it in glorious fashion. Not even chewing. I wouldn't say he was chewing it up. He was just straight up going at it. And, it was great.
Yeah.
So now this pretty much leads us to, I guess, the last couple of episodes of this here season. We get a little bit more on from Luthen's side and Mon Mothma.
Right.
In their various dealings. Wait, did Bix show? I think we saw. No, that was Cinta that showed up, not Bix. No Bix. Bix watch is
yeah. Nothing in this episode from Bix.
Yeah, which actually reminds me of something that I forgot to put in the lineup, but I'll put it in next week. From that actress. But nevertheless, it was a good episode, and yeah, Andor continues to be a pretty great show.
I read something today from a friend who posted it on Facebook that made so much sense, and I think we've actually mentioned this, but it bears repeating. Andor is Star Wars entertainment for grown-ups.
Fair. I mean,
I thought that was a very fair assessment. I think we've actually talked about it in that sense. Maybe not in those terms, but in that sense.
Right.
Because it doesn't rely on, Jedi and laser swords and all that stuff.
Right.
And we've talked about that, in comparing it to, oh my goodness, I can't remember that anthology show, the animated show, Jedi. What's that?
Tales of the Jedi?
Tales of the Jedi. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Yeah, now I know there's probably going to be some Star Wars fan that's gonna be like, well, it's all for adults, gives you da 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 da. I'm like, no, just calm down. Get what we're trying to say.
You have to remember that a lot of Star Wars is for children.
But what I'm saying there is that there are kids, that there are adults who've grown up with Star Wars, like I and like you, but are really, really, really into it. That would.
Maybe a little bit too much.
I was without saying that, but yes, that's what I was basically trying to say. That would suggest that it's all But John, just get the meaning of what we're trying to say here. Like it is not Jedi, it's not Sith. It's far removed from that. It's pretty much grounded, but it is still Star Wars. So just don't come at us. You will not come away well. Anywho. So, but nevertheless, that's pretty much that for Andor, unless you got something else.
No, but there was a catchphrase in this episode that I may turn into a soundbite down the line.
I thought about that too as well, because I was like, that kept coming up. It's got to be something. Actually, technically there's two. But and also it kind of weirdly reminded me of Rings of Power because of something that they kept saying, but the Harfoots kept saying that kind of reminded me of it.
Stay on the path or something like that.
Or, no, basically no one walks alone. But
right.
But it kind of reminded me a little bit of that, but it's obviously a little removed. So. It is time for that kind of television. Catchphrase television is back, baby.
I thought of something before we wrap and move on to the books of the week. Did you notice some of the casualties?
Mm-hmm. Well, one dude was going to make it out.
Right, but did you notice that? Like, I think we talked about it. Like, hey, we're gonna have a conversation with Tony Gilroy if this person doesn't make it out, and that person did not make it out.
I was kind of upset about one of the first casualties, even though, granted, we didn't see much of the character, and they really didn't have much to say. But at the same time, I was like, I just want them to get out and get away. Nope, they didn't. He didn't.
Nope.
And then there was one who
I thought of that discussion when I was watching.
Right, and then there was another character who was doing a lot of talking, but you kind of felt like you knew he wasn't going to make it, but still would have wanted to see him, So there was a little bit of that as things was progressing. I'm like, we know who's not going to make it here. We still don't necessarily know about the aforementioned character, even though, learning to swim is important, folks.
Yeah, definitely. It is important. Doesn't matter if you live in a big city like Agent_7.
Right.
I technically still live on a very large island.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. I was about to mention that. I was like, you're kind of surrounded by water there, pal. So, and actually, man, you know what? No, I was about to say going back to Wakanda Forever. Like that's if a similar circumstance happened, you better hope you know something.
Yep.
At any rate, there is that. Rip to those folks, and we're probably gonna be saying rip a couple more times in this episode. So this is gonna be a weird somber episode of the show because we're kind of starting off with it without even spoiling it. But then there's some stuff in the news we're gonna talk about. Yeah,
folks, if you have been if you are in touch, or if you're on social media at all, and you're connected to folks who are fans of comic books and genre, this past week was pretty difficult.
And rap also.
In terms of news.
Because we lost
that as well.
Yeah, because we lost some rappers of some note. Like, some note to folks of a certain vintage, but
Yes.
Still.
Yes.
I know I did. I flooded my timeline the on election day with Heavy D music because he had died like 11 years ago.
Right. Yeah, it was an anniversary.
Mhm.
It wasn't exactly like a
Right.
recent thing, but it was an anniversary.
Right. So, but enough about that. Like I said, that's another podcast for another time. We're going to move
Right.
on to the books of the week.
We're gonna transition, folks.
And we're going to start off with the new number one one of the new number ones, because there's a couple of them. I think this might be the only one we've read. But, no, actually, there's another. Fantastic Four, number one.
This issue is written by Ryan North with art by Iban Coelho, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So this is the new launch of the latest volume of Fantastic Four. And if you recall, the previous run ended, the previous long run was ended by Dan Slott, leaving the FF in a certain place. There was a little bit of a tail end, like a postscript, as it were, that was kind of and they made no they didn't try to hide it at all. It was essentially a story of Die Hard in the Baxter Building.
Yes.
So now that now this is all happening apparently well after that, the events of that issue, of that arc. So the way Roddykat put it is that they pulled a Spidey, specifically a Zeb Wells Spidey story trope or story idea. And essentially it's something that you discover at the end of this issue, that something happens that essentially creates a source of tension and possible rift between the characters we know and love.
Right.
But in the meantime, there is a story that is centered upon Benjamin Jacob Grimm, Ma Grimm's and Aunt Petunia's nephew, Ma Grimm's son, Aunt Petunia's nephew, our favorite blue-eyed, ever-loving thing, and his beautiful wife, Alicia Masters. And that is where this story goes. Go ahead.
They're giving, I love how they're giving, and that Slot kind of did it too, giving Alicia a little bit more color, not necessarily like facial color or anything like that, but in her, because classically Alicia's kind of
stiff.
Yeah, kind of just like well,
she's modernized. You noticed that, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's modernized, and obviously the advent of smartphones.
Yeah,
you saw that right away.
Mm-hmm. They livened up Alicia more than the classic Alicia has ever been. Now she's been a little bit of a spitfire when she needed to be, but mostly she's kind of, it kind of stays in the back. But now she's got some life in her within.
Right. I thought that was a nice development because we did see a little bit more of this during Slot's run.
Right.
Especially, in leading up to Ben and Alicia getting married, they definitely gave Alicia a lot more agency in what she wanted and what she was going to do, and her decisions, the decisions to adopt those two children, and the Kree and the Skrull. So, at the end of the day, I thought that North did a really good job with that, with incorporating, obviously Reed has had like postmodern technology, like super modern, like futuristic technology forever, but to actually have Alicia use something that makes something that virtually everyone has nowadays,
right,
to enhance the story of the character, to enhance her character, I thought was a great thing. And I was shocked that we hadn't seen that earlier or sooner.
Right. Yeah, she even gets her Nancy Drew on.
Definitely.
During the course of the story.
I was looking forward to those sandwiches.
I know, right?
I kind of laughed when that happened. I was like, oh.
Yeah, so without going too far into it, Well, and the other thing that Agent 70 mentioned, like, gets cut, that happens at the end, kind of gets teased during the course of the story, because speaking of the kids, you know, their whereabouts get kind of mentioned during the course of the story, and in relation to another character, another one of the four, that may or may not have something to do with something that happens at the end. I guess we'll find out at sometime soon. But from what I understand, this first arc is going to be a potentially singular stories with each singular member of the four. I don't know how long they're going to do that. But we, as Agent 70 said, that I said, yeah, we were getting Spidey'd with this for that thing at the end, and I'm hoping it doesn't last as long, or at the very least, it give it to us, and then like it still continues to lead somewhere, because with the Spidey thing still ongoing, there's some couple of things like, all right, we still don't have an answer to, and I'm starting to get a little miffed about it, but.
Yeah, we're literally 13 issues in as of this week,
right,
in terms of the Spidey story, and it's mildly frustrating, on different levels as we go through the stories.
And don't get me wrong, love the journey. I've said this before in the past. The journey is great. Love to have it, but at a certain point, you kind of got to give us more than breadcrumbs. You got to give us a sandwich, and then let us. Let us stew on that for a while. Let us take care of that, and then keep going. But yeah, as far as the story is concerned, is like I just said, it's Ben and Alicia. They're in a small town. There's some Groundhog Day type mystery going on that they end up having to solve, and it's a pretty it's a pretty simple story, but it's also effective for what it is, I think.
It's well told.
Yes.
It's well told. I give Iban Coelho a lot of credit, because there are a lot of storytelling techniques that he employs in the art that help the story move along. Right? Comics are a graphic medium. The writer and artist are working as a team, and this is going to be a critique that I express for another book this week, where I felt like an artist this week in another book that we're going to talk about, that both of us read, did not do a very good job of visual storytelling. I think Iban Coelho did an excellent job in this issue. Everything made sense from panel to panel.
Yeah.
All right.
Being said, though,
I don't have anything else on FF #1 because it is a #1 issue. It's worth taking a look at it, folks. It's definitely a potential click of the week for myself.
Yes, myself as well, and a couple of other, or at least one other member of the absent member of the crew.
There it is.
So I guess since we did,
you want to jump right into the Spidey corner?
Yeah, let's do that since we got a couple.
All right. So we'll start with Amazing. So Amazing Spider-Man #13 is written by Zeb Wells, with pencils by John Romita Jr., inks by Scott Hanna, colors by Marcio Moniz, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this is the climax of the Spidey and, spoiler alert, Hobgoblins battle. And it doesn't exactly go the way you think. Although, much like a lot of Spidey battles go, the villains are not necessarily vanquished altogether or completely.
No, we come to find out that there's another hand in the puppet, and we found out there was more than one puppet that's being strung here. Yes. But what we also find out is, well, we start to see a long-rumored potential other hero come into play because of what happens in the story. Like, we knew some of it because we see the news. We talk about the news also, and we knew that a character was going to go through a certain arc, and that arc is starting with this issue here because of what happens here.
Right.
What we don't know is that apparently there's a little, there may be something else. It could be very well the same hand behind the puppet that had something to do with why this person came into play in the first place. Or in the way that they did in this, I should say, in the first place. And I'm not sure if this is leading up to that dark web stuff, but I suspect probably.
I'm also not a fan of, and this is just me being nitpicky. I'm not a fan of this design of this suit that allegedly is a collaboration between Norman and Peter.
Which one? Peter's suit or the other one that shows up?
Peter's suit.
Oh,
Peter's
yeah,
suit.
I agree with that.
Not a fan. This helmet should be a little bit more durable.
You would think.
If it's going to be a helmet, it should be a little more durable.
Yeah, if it's some sort of armory plating, or at the very least, some sort of, resistant mesh. Yeah, you make it a little bit more resistant in the head part.
Just a little bit more durable. I'm like, it doesn't have to be an Iron Man helmet.
Right.
But come on, folks.
But at the same time, I mean, going up against two goblins and already going through a whole bunch of,
right.
issues.
And I understand Spidey's supposed to be light and he's supposed to be agile and whatnot. But the helmet part really got me.
He's had armor before, though, so that's never really stopped him.
Right. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can hear the counter argument.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, dude lifts 10 tons. I think he can handle a little armor. Well, assuming no hot move still stands for his
Exactly.
for his power set.
Exactly.
But
anyway,
but nevertheless, I'm
right.
kind of agreeing with you on that. It's like, yeah, I never really liked the design of it, because plus given the collaboration and one part of it that got taken out during this issue, which I know
right.
can be fixed, but it's like, yeah, that was kind of sad actually.
Right. Right. And again, and I was thinking about this, more maskless Spidey bugs me.
So
right.
So we might as well get into the next one then. Now that you say that.
Right. No. I was about to say. So before I get into that, there is one last thing I wanted to say about this issue. 13 issues, folks. We didn't touch a hair on the story that Zeb Wells started in this arc, in this whole run. 13 issues in. In the 13th issue, we didn't see a damn thing about it.
There's an elephant in the room, and then there's another plot that we still haven't seen. And I say the elephant in the room is not the plot. So let's make that clear. We've talked about it before. But yeah, the one big plot that we still don't know much about still hangs out there, because and I don't think we're going to get anything anytime soon unless this whole thing with this new hero / Andor hero, whatever he ends up being, turns into something that builds back to it. We don't know.
Right. And I think the teaser for the next issue is that they're jumping into the dark web stuff.
Right. And which is why I mentioned that. So.
Right.
So yeah, like we will see. That being said,
all right,
let's
right.
Get
so
into...
as Roddykat wanted to, and it's a natural transition. That's why I did bring it up.
Yeah.
Maskless Spider-Man, something that has bedeviled this character since Spider-Man 1 under Sam Raimi's watch. In this case, we have the companion Spider-Man book, Spider-Man #2, written by Dan Slott, with pencils by Mark Bagley, inks by John Dell, colors by Edgar Delgado, and letters again by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So, this issue, I thought of Roddykat right away because it actually references both Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon, because this is supposed to be the end of the this is supposed to be the story that leads into the end of the Spider-Verse.
Right.
So I thought of you when I was reading this, because it definitely jumps right into stuff that if you're not familiar with what happened in Spider-Geddon, they reference it.
True.
They put it in an editor's box and say, hey, this happened in Spider-Geddon.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking to ask you, what you thought of the developments in this issue.
It's, once again, it's curious because having not read Spider-Geddon, but knowing bits and pieces of it, I knew enough to know of the involvement of one character in here and kind of a couple of things that happened. But when they got to the story, when they got to kind of the backstory on how this character got from there to where they are now, like that part I didn't know. But that being said, I still want to go back and read Spider-Geddon and Spider-Verse because I have not read either one of them fully. So if anything, this story still has me curious enough to do that. And thankfully, it's given me enough to where I can kind of skate. I can kind of skate until I do.
Right.
Because I kind of thought about that. I was like, so that's the thing that did happen. And like I said, up to a certain point, I was like, okay, I kind of remember. I know they were involved. I kind of know this and that and other. But yeah, there were some things that I still have a gap in my memory because of that. So.
Sure. And there's nothing wrong with that, folks, because we read so many comics where, we're not always, and to a certain extent, we've already forgotten a lot of our comic book knowledge because we're constantly taking in more.
That is true.
So ultimately, when it comes to this story, Slott is doing a service for the newest readers by giving us some exposition here. There's some necessary exposition here.
And it's been far enough away from those stories to where even like Agent 7 said, like, yeah, it's been far enough to where people might need a little refresher.
Right. And also just filling in why a certain character seems to have not necessarily switched sides, but at least changed allegiances for now.
We'll see how that works out. There's also another, I don't know if it's a loose end anymore because something happened in the last issue with another character that I don't know if that's going to stick or not, or whether that character is still around or going to be around.
It's comics, though. It's not Uncle Ben. That's all I have to say.
It is not, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Well, yeah, there is that, and it's not Uncle Ben, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. Like, this character had a good recent run. I would hope that they wouldn't do the character that bad, like that. Yeah,
right, exactly. Do the character dirty like that.
That being said, I did enjoy the first page. It might have been the first 2 pages because it reads very familiar, but according to Slott, it is not that version of Spidey, but it is that version of Spidey. So there's a Spider-Man that shows up that reads a little younger, may have had some screen time, but Slott pretty much went out there and said it's not that because we can't use that one, but it's this other one which is technically the same but not really.
I mean, the costume,
the way they spoke, like you can catch it instantly.
Like the costume, right. That's all I have to say is like just look at the costume, folks.
Right, who he's talking to and how he's talking to somebody. It doesn't take much. It's like who that is. You know exactly who that is.
I kind of got a kick out of that.
I enjoyed it also. So, and also, are we just sticking into not calling it adjectives less? Well, okay, there's a reason not to do it right there. Adjective less Spider-Man.
I guess. I did have one little quibble. Okay. And I understand that the laws of the reality that they happen to have been in may allow for this to happen. But when did Silk have her web spinning do what it does
I have that in my notes.
In this particular panel? I was like, what?
I have that exactly in my notes. I'm like, when was she able to do that?
It actually made me stop and say, what? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, wait a second. I definitely have a sound effect for exactly what I was thinking, folks.
What you talking about?
Right. It was like,
you know what I'm saying?
Right. Like she's never been able to do that before. What's going on here? I thought that exact same thing.
I just kind of laughed. I was like, where is this going? How? Like, there's no origin for this. There's no basis in any story prior to this for her having this ability. Right. I'm like, I love Cindy Moon. I think she's a positive. she's a positive force in Marvel Comics as a character, for representation. I love that they, they still kind of hint at the whole like pheromone thing, because that's what gets her to, take action.
Because at first I didn't think about that, and I
still.
didn't think about that at first. I was like, because I was kind of like with Miles, and I was like, really? But at the same time, you know why he said it, and then you think about it for a second. I was like, oh right, there's a reason why she wanted to do what she did,
Right.
So, and I get that. Also, the funny part about it was like right after that, there was another spider who also actually does that kind of stuff. Like, wait, I'm right here. Like, I'm right here. I could have got you good, man. So that part was also funny.
Upgrade.
Yeah, like,
that's what he
had to glow.
And
Yeah,
I'm like,
glow up
okay.
as he actually said it. But yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But yeah, so
You got a little too modern for me, folks. I am. You know what I'm gonna play. You know what I'm gonna play. I just got to get the board up.
Boy, I'm getting too old for this shit.
yeah.
Thank
so
you.
So that part in itself was kind of funny. But yeah, like I said, along with Agent said, I was like, what, who, when, how, when, how. So I was like, okay, maybe as a part of that reality they're in, but still no. Still no. That didn't make any sense. Either way, it was a fun book, kind of.
Well, it was. I had a lot more fun reading this than I had reading Spider-Man 13.
That's fair. That's
Fair. This, but at the same time, I think I could enjoy this a little bit more than Roddykat, because I had read both Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon, so I'm up to date. So even though I couldn't remember a lot of the details, and Slott was kind enough to fill in a lot of the gaps, I thought this is just like a big Spider-Verse multiverse type story, and it's just a lot of fun to watch and to read, and that opening 2-page splash was entertaining.
Oh, one other thing that was fun in Spider-Man 2 was like I am so glad someone's mentioned this. Thank you, Slott. The whole Doctor Strange hand motion thing, which granted is
that was awesome. Go ahead.
No, yeah, it was like so there was a character, Peter was talking to another spider, and your thing froze. Your picture froze.
Oh no.
That's weird. Hold on a second.
Oh no.
Audio
how's my audio?
Yeah, audio's fine. Oh wait, there we go. That's weird.
I just unfroze.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there.
I'm literally like waving, like nodding my head no to make sure that I'm still working.
Yeah, no, because it was like you could see it on the fringes that you were kind of moving, but you were not actually moving, so that was kind of weird. But it's all fine. It's fine now. It's all right, folks. No fire. But anyway, and if you're watching the video version, you would have seen that all in real time. You should watch it.
Right. That's right. Thank you to the folks watching live tonight.
Exactly. So, what was I saying?
I think we can wrap Spider-Man
but
2 if there's nothing else to add.
There was something else I thought. No, yeah, the Doctor Strange thing. So there was talking about the whole Doctor Strange, how his magic hand motions are kind of like, and this has been said in other places, that kind of look like Spider-Man doing his webs, and there was a character that basically kind of touched on that, and I was like, I am so glad somebody did that. Thank you, Slott. I appreciate you for that.
Props to Dan Slott there. I did like that. That was
because that part was like, you know what? No one's ever said it. No one's ever said. Well, people have said it, but not necessarily like this. So I was like, you know what? Great. That was perfect. Now we can move on.
What do you think of the redesign of Aranya?
I had an issue with it in the last issue, because I was like, why are they taking her back to that? But now with the addition of this addition to her power set now, which I'm fairly certain she did not have originally, I'm all right with it. You know, as long as they don't. I mean, I don't know what long-term plans, if they have any, they're going to do with her on that front. But I'm curious to see what they get out of it. What they can do with it. So maybe she'll end up. Well, I don't know if she's still young enough to be in Strange Academy, but I don't think she would. But so. But yeah, I'm all right with it. And now I'm all right with it.
All right.
But that being said, yeah, we can move on to another book. Do we want to get to that particular book that you had that you brushed up on?
Cap? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about that because that seems to have a lot of things moving, into the over that's about to start.
Mm-hmm.
So Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty #6 is written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, former guests of the Comic Book Chronicles. Artist is Carmen Carnero, a Stormbreaker. Letters are by VC's Joe Caramagna and colors are by Nolan Woodard. I only make that note that the colorist is listed last because for whatever reason, in some comics, the colorist gets listed last. Don't know why.
We have been noticing that lately. Yeah.
Some, but not all, right? So this Outer Circle story, right, is meant to, be a very active retcon of our understanding of James Buchanan, Bucky Barnes's story in the Marvel Universe, right? We know what Brubaker did, but now it seems to be that it went than what Brubaker initially told us. It wasn't just the Russians. It was a much more global Illuminati type organization, yet another one.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, the crux of the story is Bucky, aka the Winter Soldier, aka something else in this issue, decides to go in a different direction than what Steve Rogers wants to do. Whether or not this is a fake out remains to be seen. But ultimately, that's the crux of the story.
Mm-hmm.
They have there is a battle that is very reminiscent of the battle between Bucky and Cap in the climax of the Winter Soldier movie. It looks like it's not shot for shot, but heavily inspired by that hand-to-hand battle aboard the helicarrier in the climactic battle of the Winter Soldier. Right? So interestingly enough, that's where my critique of this issue really comes from. It's during that battle because it's extended and it relies upon the visual storytelling of Carmen Carnero to really sell the combat. And I am not shy about saying I did not like some of the panel transitions, some of the visual storytelling that Carnero used to move the action along. I thought it was jarring. I did not understand how we got from one panel to another. I'm like, wait, one person had this and Cap's shield is flying, but now it's back in his hand.
Right.
That's just a small thing. I'm not asking Roddykat to remember that unless he actually
I know exactly what you're talking about because that also brings about something that happens a couple of pages later.
Right. But at the end of the day, I understand why they're doing this. It's to give, Bucky a different direction. Whether or not this is a fake out at the end of the day, is, whether or not, it's a big take, it's a big twist on, it's a big kind of swerve on like traditional Cap espionage storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I see it. I don't know if this is going to be if this is a fake out or not, but that's how I interpreted it, at least going into this story. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, while I bumped up against the some of the same art stuff that you did, I didn't have as big a problem with it as you did, because for the most part, outside of those couple of different places, I thought the art was pretty solid. I almost thought they were, or at least from what I saw from what Carmen Carnero was talking about on Twitter, I thought they were going to go for a silent interlude type issue, with this one. But it was mostly textless, but not fully textless, like that story was. So I was kind of curious to see how she was going to do that. But that being said, yeah, the whole I got the same notes as Agent 7 did about the whole MCU of Winter Soldier battle that they kind of go with an ending that is kind of flipped from that battle, but still, like, okay, you see it, it's right there. If you've seen the movie, and you can tell it here. Not necessarily a knock, but it's like, we're kind of seeing more and more of that kind of stuff happening in the books, and that part's kind of a bummer.
Right.
But sometimes if you can do it effectively, it's good. But if you're just relying on that to be the case, and I'm not saying that anyone involved with this it can be kind of a bummer. Like, we've seen this, do something else.
Definitely.
So that's pretty much it for that. Because I'm also kind of curious as to see that whole event, Captain America event that's coming up, that this is leading into, like, what's going to be the end result of this. I kind of hate to be that way this early on in it, but at the same time, going into it, it's like, okay, you are kind of sort of invested. Like, I'm still curious enough with this and Sam's book to be like, all right, let's see what they're going to do, but also what's going to happen on the outset of this, So, that being said, though, yeah, I don't have anything else on Sentinel of Liberty.
All right, so we can probably go to rapid fire because we do have a number of books in common.
Oh, actually, I do want to ask you a question
Shoot.
before we get out of this one. So I don't know did you read that last the page after the story ended? Like
the code breaking one?
Yeah. Did you?
I saw that, but go ahead.
No, go ahead. No. You saw that?
No, I saw that. I was like, I'm gonna have to go back through our copies and look.
Okay, and that was because I was gonna ask you, did you remember it from as far back as they said it started? Which it was, granted, not that far ago, but it basically said that this, the seeds of this started back in Dark Reign, not Dark Reign, Devil's Reign, excuse me.
Right.
So I don't know if you saw that.
I remember that, like the panel that they showed. I remember seeing that.
Right.
So, luckily, folks, we do have access to these. And I could go back and check that out.
Right. So if you like decoding, codes, or the Krakoan era has gotten some folks into doing this is translating the texts, or actually it went before that, because Wakanda, the Star Wars, all those kind of translating the script into English is something that's been a long-standing thing. So this is definitely another line of that. I don't know if I have the wherewithal to go back and check that out, but I am very curious.
I mean, it's only 5 issues plus that Dark Reign, that Devil's Reign thing. So
right.
We'll see. If I have time. Sure.
Because supposedly there's a code that you put it all together and it's supposed to say something, and maybe it's going into that.
Right. There's a cipher. Right. Exactly.
Right.
There's a cipher in this issue so that you can break the code.
Mm-hmm. So get on it, gumshoes. That being said, we can go to rapid fire.
All right, spinning it up.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Okay. First up, AXE Judgment Day Omega #1 is written by Kieran Gillen with art by Guiu Villanova. Colors are by Andres Mossa, and letters are by VC's Travis Lanham. So the bulk of this issue deals with the fallout of Judgment Day on the status quo of the Eternals. And we find out that a lot of this fallout leads the Eternals into a status very similar to their status at the end of the Eternals movie in the MCU. But similar, not exactly the same, but similar, roughly parallel.
Also kind of parallel to the beginning of Hawk Talks, if you've noticed.
the beginning of Hoxpox.
Yeah, or I guess the the beginning of Hoxpox, the going into the Krakoan era, basically, where they start making up, was like, okay, well, we got to do this and this and this, and now that this is like this, we kind of got to, make up laws and do this other, this things like this, kind of get ourselves on track, basically.
Gotcha.
So it kind of felt like
I understand. That. I see where you're going with that. I get it.
Yeah. So it kind of felt like that a little bit also as well.
Get it. I mean, Ajax has a very, very, very different status quo now.
Yes.
Vastly different. We also get, we also see what Phastos is doing. He takes a lot of responsibility for this. And Icarus probably has the weirdest transition.
When did he get resurrected?
I don't recall, but that's why that, spoiler alert, that's why that kid's not there anymore.
Right. But I thought that was another, well, actually, if you read the Eternal story going up in this, you kind of figured something like that was going to end up happening at some point, but not sure how, I suppose. But yeah, I was like, when did that happen? And when did what happened on the outside to the attached person happened? So that was kind of weird, but I thought it was something because I thought I remember in Acts when it happened to Icarus, but I thought that was a different time than this other resurrection.
Right. I don't recall exactly,
right.
So I can't help you. We were probably just thinking of along the same lines. We just can't remember exactly when.
Sure. But over that.
So in any event.
Yeah. Oh no! Wait. There's only there's only a couple of Titans left, right?
Are there any left?
I thought so. I don't know. Yeah.
To be honest, I thought it was helpful at the end of this issue that they lay out, a teaser for how the events of Judgment Day will still reverberate through the Marvel Universe in two specific titles. Mm-hmm. One of them is Immortal X-Men, obviously where Sinister features prominently. The other one being X-Men Red. So I didn't realize that X-Men Red was going to be as largely affected by, but I guess it's because of what happened on Arakko.
Correct, and what they say in this issue about that part. Yeah.
Right. I didn't necessarily think that Arakko would be, would have that kind of fallout. But at the end of the day, they're not in the Resurrection Protocols, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. And there was another book that was mentioned at the back of this, which is tied a little bit more closely to another book from this book, which I'm sure you'll talk about. But I was like, I'm just curious where the tie in from this to that would be.
Right. The big Jason Aaron story.
Right.
Interesting. No, that's right. Like I fail to include that, and it does bear asking, how does that tie in?
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, cool. Next up, it's literally next in line, Avengers number 62. Written by Jason Aaron, with art by Ivan Fiorelli, colors are by David Curiel, and letters are by VC's Corey Petit. This is, I think, the last issue of the gathering of the group of Avengers throughout time, and we also have the reformation of the Avengers of 1 million BC minus a few members. Ultimately, this is a fun little kind of look at Agamotto. I think that's how they pronounced it in the movies.
So, yeah.
I don't know if we've ever gotten this kind of storytelling with the Agamotto character before.
I thought we did, because I have it in my notes. I was like, I feel like we had part of the story with him when they were doing the 1 million BC stuff, but maybe, I don't know.
But this is probably the most we've seen of Agamotto, even including Doctor Strange books.
Right.
We've only ever seen the eye and the orb. So it's interesting that we're actually getting to see, you know, the superheroic side,
Yep.
you know, kind of being retconned in. So bottom line here is the issue ends with, you know, a nice little meetup. I think one of my only quibbles is that Ivan Fiorelli got the number of circles of circles on Captain America Shield wrong. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did not.
I was just like, really, dude?
Agent 70,
anyway.
if you hadn't figured out, is a Captain America fan. So he
Well, that and observant of art.
well, sure, yes.
Right.
But in particular with Cap.
Yeah, I observe art. You know, like I definitely, you know, pay a little bit of extra attention to the art, you know, and only through years and almost 500 episodes have I gotten a little bit better at really picking apart story in comics. You know, I came to comics originally as a kid because of the art.
Yeah, that's my job, picking apart the story.
Well, not just Roddykat, but the many of our other absentee co-hosts as well.
I'm here though, so
right. No, that's true. But my point being, like over the course of the 500 episodes, I generally dwell upon like little quibbles with art and art style. Mm-hmm. Anyway, next up for me is Batman vs. Robin #3 of 5. This is a DC book. It's written by Mark Waid with art by Mahmoud Asrar and Scott Godlewski. Colors are by Jordi Belair and letters are by Steve Wan. So if you have not been keeping up with this, this is kind of bringing back around a teased reveal in the Grant Morrison run on Batman. You know, in the initial run of the introduction of Damian. And there's a lot of magic at play in this issue. And one of the things that is being featured in some online articles is that Batman has to basically run through a gauntlet of his former Robins and deal with some of their long-standing beefs that they might have with him and some doubts that creep into his mind about how he treated them. But he also basically affirms he affirms what we all knew to be the case, which is that there is one Robin to rule them all. You know, shout out to the Lord of the Rings reference right there.
Mm. So the funny part about you saying that is like this is not the only Batman book in this past month that has done that, or in the past couple of months that has done that. So that's funny.
Right. All right. Next up is a one-shot. I did not realize this is a one-shot. Black Panther Unconquered #1. It's written by former guest of our show, Brian Hill. Art is by Alberto Focci or Facci. Colors are by Matt Milla, and letters are by VC's Joe Sabino. So I did not realize this is a one-shot. Roddykat mentioned that this is probably that he got the information from the solicitation text as opposed to the listing on Diamond or the listing of Diamond or Where I Go Comic List. And so I will just say that I anticipated that this would be more than a one-shot, but it was interesting to see that there are, believe it or not, some parallels with the Wakanda Forever movie in terms of spirituality. And I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
Yeah, I took that also. Excuse me. But, you know, I suspect that I'm fairly certain this was intentionally timed with Wakanda Forever movie, because I do remember when Brian Hill was on Twitter and mentioned doing this book. So like, okay, makes sense. I won't necessarily get into the crux of the one shot, but it definitely does have to do with a spiritual figure in Wakandan culture and a possible rival in that, and also dealing with some weapons. So Yeah, I suspect, because I didn't, just like Agent 70, I didn't think this was going to be a one shot either, because it felt like it was like, okay, this is going to be like a mini series, and it could, maybe it is, and or maybe, you know, this is kind of something that's going to shoot off somewhere along the lines in the main Black Panther book. They just happen to bring it up here, or maybe there's something else coming up that this is leading to, and they just decided to make it a one shot. I don't know. It's interesting, but I guess we'll find out at some point soon which of those will be the case.
Alrighty. Next up is Gun Honey Blood for Blood, number 3 of 4 from Titan Comics. It's written by Charles Ardai, actually, with art by Ang Hor Kang. Colors are by Asifur Rahman, and letters are by David Leitch. So, folks, I'm a sucker for this book because it is definitely not for kids. It is adult oriented. It is pulp crime, pulp spy stuff. You know, I am glad to see Ed Brubaker put, you know, like agree to have his name plastered prominently on the cover to say that you know, that this is like pulp at its finest, if I recall correctly. So without getting too much into it, the bottom line here is Joanna Tan, the titular, and I say that tongue in cheek, Gun Honey, is basically facing off with a rival throughout this entire series. And so we are about to get to the this is basically the penultimate issue of this 4-issue run. So all of it is set up for the final issue showdown. It's a lot of fun. You basically have to kind of check your intelligence at the door, but at the same time, it's just fun to, you know, read like a pulpy story. The art is still kind of rough at times, but you can see Ang Hor Kang has some talent that just needs refining and tons of practice. Next up for me is Moon Knight number 17. It's written by Jed McKay with art by Alessandro Capuccio. Colors are by Rochelle Rosenberg and letters by VC's Corey Petit. Did you read this?
Yes.
Okay, so I will just say that this issue is Moon Knight striking back by actually using his resources, not the Mark Spector resources that we're kind of used to, like the Batman-esque resources, but more, let's say, stuff with a magical bent. And I really liked how a character was teased to have met their demise early in the issue, and the character's relatively triumphant return at the end of the issue. So I will hand it off to Roddykat for his thoughts.
Yeah, there's not much else to say about it, except for the fact that we also find that, I guess we find the ultimate demise. Well, we find out what ultimately happened to a character with what happened to them from the last issue, whether their current status was current. I mean, whether is going to stick, or whatever that was that's teased at the end of this is actual, or in the middle of this was something. But yeah, it's interesting to where this was a more of a I'm not locked in with you, you're locked in with me type situation that Mark was
right.
That Mark was going through with this. I'm like, okay, we haven't seen that trope in a minute.
Yeah. And also, just, you know, I like the idea that the particular aspect that we're talking about, the kind of mystical resource that this version of Moon Knight has, I kind of like.
Yeah.
You know, and it gives him more capabilities. You know, and basically is like a nice little addition to the character story.
I agree.
Because they're definitely, you know, leaning into the supernatural in this run of Moon Knight.
Right. So and yeah, the only other thing is that we get there's apparently a vampire convention. I called it the UN of Vampires that happens during the course of this issue. That also kind of weirdly reminded me of the Warriors.
Okay, you know.
But also kind of reminded me of a certain part of Wakanda Forever near the beginning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This is not a spoiler. I actually said out loud, and unfortunately, no, I don't think anybody in the crew understood. I said, "Come on, Toby," and when I said that, it's because a certain actor who played Toby Ziegler on The West Wing was featured prominently during those scenes, and I was like, "Come on, Toby." I'm speaking of Richard Schiff. That's not a spoiler at all.
I actually saw that name come up in the credits. I was like, oh wait, was that dude? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, yeah. Now that I put that, because I was kind of curious as to why that name came up in the credits like it did. So, all right, cool.
Because he's not like the most well-known actor, but I like that they had like a little note that said "and Richard Schiff."
Right. So cool.
So that's technically my last book. I wanted to make mention of one book that I skimmed. I'm sorry for chewing on the air, folks. I wanted to talk about Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths of Infinite Realities and all that. It's dark. It's a crisis, folks. Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, number 6. I think this is number 6 of 7. Let me double check that real quick.
It is. I can confirm.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. I wanted to mention, and Roddykat will laugh when after the show, I'm going to point this out to him. Green Arrow and Black Canary are having a conversation in this issue. There's a battle going on, essentially, a big, universe altering battle that's going on in another location. Green Arrow and Black Canary are having a discussion, and they're talking about what Pariah says. And if you're not familiar with the premise of Dark Crisis, is that Pariah is essentially behind everything. Dinah, Black Canary, says, "Ollie, Pariah said," and Green Arrow replies, "I know what that crybaby said." And I started crying laughing, y'all. I started crying laughing.
Nice.
When I saw that on the page, I was like, yo, are they listening to us? And obviously this is probably something that many, many readers have noticed when it comes to the character of Pariah in all of these Crisis DC books. All of these books going back to the early 80s, right? I just kind of got a big laugh.
That's pretty good.
Reading that on the page. I got a big laugh reading that on the page. So shouts to Joshua Williamson for writing that in. That's it for me.
If you want to see see and or hear our thoughts on the original Crisis on Infinite Earths, go back to episodes 360 and 361, when we were basically mid-pandemic, and we were doing event books.
This is like the height of the pandemic when there were no new comics coming out. So we were doing what we call evergreen episodes. What a lot of forms of media would call evergreen episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were fun. Like I said, we keep threatening to kind of, when we have some time, to go back to them, but we got new stuff coming out, so we attention is
right.
later.
And this past summer and now fall have been rich with content that have added to what we need to cover during the show. Obviously, with movies coming out again as the pandemic, as we get into a different stage of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So, bottom line here is that we definitely invite everyone to take a look, to listen to, and even take a look at on YouTube those evergreen episodes, because they have a ton of there's a ton of great content in there.
Yeah. If we can get 20 more people to follow on Twitch, we can put those there too. But that being said, we're going to push on. Actually, I wanted to ask you something else. Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna get to a book and then I'll ask you because I think there's a tie-in to this particular book, or at least an unofficial tie-in to this book.
Go ahead.
But you know what? Yeah, I can do that right now when I get to my books, which is starting with I Am Batman number 15. Excuse me, pardon me. If I can find the stupid. There we go. Bing. So I Am Batman number 15. This creative team is written by John Ridley, art by Carl Mostert. I want to say that's inks by Romulo Fajardo Jr. and letters by Troy Pateri. I think I have a typo there. That's why. So, and the reason why I'm going to ask is because Jace, aka the new Batman of New York, is fighting Sinestro, who has been sent by Pariah, as if this was some sort of act of vengeance / Dark Crisis tie-in. Actually sent through Deathstroke by Pariah, just to kind of to make it all kind of clear. So I was like, so the first thing I went to was like, this is DC's act of vengeance, which they've had one before. They've had that one before. This is not new. But it just read like that. I was like, why is Sinestro going up against this Batman? But also I was like, okay, Jason got some unresolved things in his past, and I assumed that this is a actual face your fears type issue that is going on here.
Okay.
So to kind of get that out of the way, it doesn't necessarily go the whole way through, but it kind of starts that off. But the main thing was, it was like, okay, this is totally acts of vengeance, but for DC, along with the current crisis. And I don't know if you saw that anywhere else this week. In addition to that,
the character does pop up in Dark Crisis,
right?
In this week's Dark Crisis.
Okay. Well, yeah, because
specifically the Chase Fox Batman,
right? Because I think I don't know if it's alluding to that, but it is. But this book kind of alluded to the events of what's going on, where this particular Batman would have gotten involved.
Yeah, the New York Batman does get involved in that issue. So.
And I think at the end of this issue is probably leading into that.
Yep. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, there is an editor's note saying, see I Am Batman number 15 for details.
Gotcha. Okay. So so while there's no trade dress that with the Dark Crisis tie-in on it, or at least actually let me not say that too loud. No, I don't see it on here, but it apparently is a tie-in to Dark Crisis. So if you're up on that, have at it.
Hey man, good for you.
I'm not. You're more up on it than I am.
I skimmed it. I'm just, I got a kick out of like skimming through, and I was just like, oh, look at that. They're making fun of Pariah. Yay!
Right. Yeah, which is pretty good, because that's all we did. We were talking about every time he came up, and even now, that's pretty much all we did was talk about just clown that dude.
Oh my goodness.
Anywho,
all right, what do you got left?
So I only got a couple of books left. Actually, I only got one book left. Now that I think about it, because we pretty much ran through the same stuff. And oh wait, I'm lying. That was it. That's it. That was the only other book.
Right.
That was the only other book. Because I forgot you did read that Black Panther book. So that being said, Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
We do have one from one of our absent panel here, and that is Dirt's pick of Fantastic Four #1. And let me see, what did he say? He was kind of glowing about this book. I was slightly surprised by this. He was like, I haven't been reading FF, so don't know what's going on with FF, and this is made for people who know FF, but maybe don't really know what's going on with FF. He said it. I'm reading him verbatim. But it's a timeless story and a great character piece and a phenomenal standalone comic book. So, and I kind of agree with him, because it was a great piece of storytelling with what happened in the book. You should definitely check it out. And I don't know if with what Ryan North is doing is going to be on the same caliber with the rest of the characters. I can go through a few issues of this.
Mm-hmm.
at the very least. That being said, I don't. Actually, that is up there for me. I will say that.
Yeah. Same here. Same here. I will say. I'll tell you what my candidates are.
Okay.
Right. One of them is Fantastic Four #1.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other ones is Spider-Man #2, just because I got a real kick out of just seeing all these different spiders running around.
Agreed.
Right. And some of the laugh out loud moments, like the Doctor Strange part, and even the baffling moment that we got with Silk and Spidey.
Yes.
So those are really my two main candidates. So I'm kind of left deciding between the two. How about yourself?
Yes. Yeah, for the most part, it is those two. There is a part, the whole why is this Batman fighting Sinestro thing was kind of amusing for me. But again, this is something that has happened in comics before, not just on DC side, but on Marvel side, because hence the whole act of vengeance, mention. Moon Knight was also a pretty good one, but we always say that about Moon Knight because Jed McKay, does pretty good work with that character and others. And while Agent 70 was talking, I was getting a particular comic book cover or two that I didn't have. One or two of which I will send to him later on, which if he hasn't seen, I won't reveal that at this very moment. And
Are they funny variant covers?
Yes.
They're in the back of the book. You
already knew. Yeah, you already knew.
The back of the book. They're in the back of the book. When I looked at them, I was like, "Oh, goodness."
Yeah, that was one particular. I'm like, oh, all right, sure, all right.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, goodness, okay."
Right.
It's one of those times when I'm like, "Oh, would that have been on the news on the stands at like Midtown Comics?"
They would, but it probably would have been bagged or
yeah, probably
blocked.
Probably shielded.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
all right, so you know what? I am going to. I'm going to bite the bullet and say FF #1 as well.
Okay. It's a solid pick, so I can't be mad at you for that. There was another book I was going to mention. Oh, I'm just going to mention that, there's a Death of Superman's 30th anniversary special that came out this week. I didn't get a chance to read that, and I don't think I read the original one now that I think about it, but I know enough about what happens, obviously. Everybody knows what happened there. There was another book I was going to mention, but I don't remember what it is in this part. So that being said, I'm probably just going to go with Fantastic Four.
Oh, nice. Clean sweep.
Yeah, like I said, it is the one that stood out. And just like I said in our back channel, I was like, I had some other stuff to read, but I was pretty much on board with that one from the reading of it. So that's that. And while I put this back up, it is now time for a transition into the news. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered to door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron. Always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcasts free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And we get into the cinematic news as we do about this time with a little bit of pew. first up, some sad news. I had to put this up front so we can just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off of it. Legendary Batman voice actor, the definitive voice of Batman, some would say. I would be one of those people. Kevin Conroy has passed away at 66. It says here that actor Diane Pershing, who voiced Poison Ivy, shared the heartbreaking news on Facebook with the quote, "Very sad news. Our beloved voice of Batman, Kevin Conroy, died yesterday." That would be on the 10th. He's been ill for a while, but he really put in a lot of time at the cons to the joy of all of his fans. He will be sorely missed, not just by the cast of the series, but by his legions of fans around the world, she wrote. And yeah, there was definitely a lot of outpouring, on the internets today. Like I told Agent 70, I saw this right after I got home from my viewing today of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. So it was like, man, I didn't need this.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously nothing you could do about it, and things happen.
Right. It's just the timing of it all, coincides with, what can be, called a very somber experience at the movie theater.
Exactly.
So, when I saw this, I was in shock, but at the same time, I had noticed that Kevin Conroy had seemed frail the last time I had seen him in person in 2019. And I think we had probably seen some photos or video of him, during the pandemic or in this most recent kind of con season, and noticed that maybe he didn't look as hale and hearty as we're used to seeing. So, maybe something was up. And as was it Diane Pershing?
Yes.
As Diane Pershing said, he may have been dealing with a long-term illness for a while. So, unfortunately, it took its toll and shocked everyone, because the outpouring of grief that I saw online was immense. Mm-hmm. I saw Mark Hamill post. I saw, numerous comic book fans and comic book creators post that, in in almost unison, that Kevin Conroy was the voice of Batman for multiple generations of Batman fans. To me, he is Batman. He's the Batman I think of when I close my eyes and listen.
Agreed.
It's not any of the cinematic Batmans. It's not Batman 66. It's really not Adam West. It's the animated series Batman that I think of. Not the Justice League Batman with the extra pointy ears, but the Batman, the animated series Batman. That's what I think of.
Well, I mean, it was still him, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. No, but I'm just talking about, specifically the image, right, and the sound that I hear when I close my eyes and just in my mind's eye think of the quintessential Batman.
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone from Mike Hamill to Tara Strong and everybody else who have worked with him, it's just been a lot of outpouring. I'm seeing in this article, and I totally forgot about this, that he did live action stuff also, so it wasn't like he was just a voice actor, but that's what most people have known about it from. But he also played older Bruce Wayne in the last Crisis in the Arrowverse. And
right.
And according to this article here, Conroy previously spoke about fans being upset as the angry Bruce Wayne from his Batwoman appearance in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Said the fans weren't happy about that. I was like, I have not seen this yet, so this is new to me. They didn't like seeing that version of Bruce Wayne. Conroy said on the Inside of You podcast with Michael Rosenberg. Another, you all know who that is. Some of y'all know who that is anyway. But for me, it was fun. It was a lot of fun to sort of stretch out my acting chops a little bit. And I've been meaning to catch up with the Arrowverse stuff for a minute, but it's going to be a while to get to that point.
Not me. But in any event, it's definitely, I have one Kevin Conroy soundbite, and we all know what it is, but I'm going to play it here, and it's kind of apropos because even though the attitude is wrong, it feels like this is something that we're all going to be doing for a little while.
Cry me a river.
While the intent behind the delivery of that line is different, essentially that's what we're all doing.
Mm-hmm. I had one as well, and unfortunately I don't know where it went. So I will save. Oh wait, no, here it is. That one.
I could play the Homie Don't Play That after that, but in any event, folks, that was a real shock. Excuse me. Shock to the system today.
Indeed. I feel like the Batman tiers. I feel like this needs to play also.
Yep.
And we
Yep.
And we can move
Absolutely. Moving on. In an exclusive report by Cosmic Serkis, is this real? The upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe series for Disney Plus will be filming under the Daredevil Born Again series for Disney Plus will be filming under the working title Out the Kitchen and the production company title Blind Faith Productions LLC. The working title appears not only to reference Matt Murdock's home of Hell's Kitchen in New York City, but may also hint at seeing the man without fear leave town as he did in She-Hulk Attorney at Law. So I will be on the lookout for signs around New York City.
Indeed.
That say out the kitchen when it comes to parking. That's always my clue as to where these shoots are happening. You'll see different colored signs taped to parking signs around the block. And if you see a working title, sometimes you can Google it and you can find out what the production is. Sometimes they don't care. It's just Law and Order SVU.
Most times it's Law and Order. Sure, why not?
Right. That's just what it comes down to. It's like The Good Wife. Like the TV shows. They're very much out. They're very much whatchamacallit, very open and transparent about what's shooting. But when it comes to anything Marvel or film related, they are very much circumspect and very secretive about what is going on because they want to avoid, major spoilers.
Sure. Yeah, and even though they will have snipers on the adjoining rooftops.
Right.
Also, the articles like this are pretty much report / rumor / whatever. But some of these where it is, where it talks about the, working titles and stuff like that. I guess some of them have come true. We haven't seen where that's actually been the case, but, or not personally been the case. But hey, things happen. Right. Speaking of reports,
Well, you ain't heard that from me.
there it is. Speaking of another report, Agatha Coven of Chaos directors and episode count has potentially been revealed. According to the Illuminati, where did they get these things? WandaVision creator Jack Schaefer will reportedly direct at least one episode of the upcoming Disney Plus series. Ganja Montero, best known for her work on Showtime's The Chi, is reported to be taking out the director's seat as well. The report also claims that Agatha Coven of Chaos will be a 9-episode limit series, putting in the same episode count as WandaVision and She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Whether that remains or whether that is the case, I guess we'll find out. Next up.
So apparently trade reports, and I kind of trust trade reports a little bit more than some of these random websites. Trade reports, and what's implied there is it's probably Variety, Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, right? Trade reports revealed that the WandaVision spinoff, Agatha Coven of Chaos, has added Sashir Zamata and Eric Andre to its cast before principal photography kicks off next month. Right around the corner, folks. Zamata is expected to have a recurring role throughout the series, while Andre is said to only have one episode on his docket. This is first reported by Deadline.
Yeah, ain't crazy about him, so that's good.
I'm not sure who that is. I'm going to Google that right now as you go on to the next story.
Black Panther Wakanda Forever's budget. I'm going to take the next one after this since it's related also. Black Panther Wakanda Forever's budget sets an important world record. It's basically the biggest budgeted Marvel movie to date, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, wait. So it says here that's also the case. Variety revealed that the Black Panther sequel carries a production budget of $250 million. And according to Direct, that makes it the most expensive film featuring a black lead. I believe it is also up there with one of Marvel's most expensive films, if I'm not mistaken. I saw elsewhere.
Of the solo movies.
Right. Wakanda Forever dethrones 2012's Men in Black 3. The final three spots are films that were working with budgets of $200 million, which was 2018's Black Panther, 2019's Hobbs and Shaw. That was way too much money for that. And 2020's Tenet, which I've still never seen. So yeah, there is that. And speaking of how much money it's made, Wakanda Forever scores 2022's third biggest opening night, and this is just after one night. It says here that according to box office analyst Gitesh Pandya, Wakanda Forever earned $28 million in Thursday's previews, easily beating the $25.5 million that the first Black Panther made in 2018. The Wakanda Forever currently has 2022's third biggest preview night after fellow MCU titles Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Thor: Love and Thunder at 36 million and 29 million respectively. The new Black Panther movie also performed better than the competition, above DC's The Batman at 22 million and unsurprisingly Black Adam at 7.6 million.
I've got a sound effect for that one. Just give me a second to pull it up.
I was going to say there was a character that we didn't talk about much, but either before the show or in our recap of or our impressions of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and that was of Riri Williams. And there is a curiosity in a couple of choices that they made with that character in the movie, which I won't go into right now, but curious indeed, I will say.
Yeah. Yep.
Moving right along.
Alrighty. Speaking of Wakanda Forever, and a character who is apparently banished due to this character's actions in the first Black Panther movie, Daniel Kaluuya,
yes,
not his character in Black Panther, but Daniel Kaluuya, the actor, is swinging into the Spider-Verse. The actor last seen having a close encounter in Jordan Peele's Nope has joined the voice cast of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the sequel to the Oscar-winning animated film Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So this movie is going to hit theaters on June 2nd, 2023.
Yeah. Spider-Punk. Yeah.
Oh yes, I was about to say it. I was about to say that he's been cast as Spider-Punk.
Yeah. Which apparently is a breakout character. Who knew?
It's the look. Yeah. Right? Because it's actually Hobie Brown. Right? Which makes this an appropriate casting. You know, who we know as the Prowler in the regular Marvel universe, but Hobie is the Prowler is a little different in the Spider-Verse movie. So they are using this version of Hobie in the guise under the identity of Spider-Punk.
Yep. Actually, I was going to go so far as to say, and in the comics as of late, or at least the last time we saw him anyway, but because they kind of keep flipping his allegiance, kind of. Anyway, and he did show.
Oh, you mean Hobie?
Yeah,
Hobie
Brown.
I got you. I got you. Hobie Brown himself. Right.
Yeah. Also showed up in this week's Spider-Man #2 in a version. So yeah. Next up though, the Acolyte Star Wars series adds Carrie-Anne Moss, Charlie Bennett, Rebecca Henderson, Daphne Keane, and Dean Charles Chapman to the cast. Now, two of those names you will know. One in particular was the first one. Obviously, you will probably know.
Obviously.
The other one of note that I know of, but I've still yet to see this movie, is Daphne Keane, who basically played, I think she was she Lara in Logan? Yeah.
Yep.
So I still have not seen.
You haven't watched Logan?
I have not seen Logan yet.
Wow.
I have.
Well, it's on Disney Plus, right?
I mean, yeah, I think so, and I own it. So I mean, either way, I got it. But it's
okay.
Yeah, I just still haven't seen it yet for some odd reason. I said I was going to go through all of them again because I've watched a couple of them. I watched the first one, and I've watched bits of the second one. But Logan is the one I absolutely haven't seen. So. But yeah, so it says here though that well, let's see, Daphne Keane, His Dark Materials, but like I said, Laura and Logan, Rebecca Henderson's from Inventing Anna, Charlie Bender is from Russian Doll, and Dean Charles Chapman is from 1917. You already know where Carrie Ann Moss is from, so don't have to say it.
For crying out loud, if we have to tell you, you know,
get out of that rock.
That's all I got to say.
And there's the next issue, the next episode, the next article is tied to this. So I guess I go ahead and take that also because in that article, in this particular next article, the plot details of the Acolyte show have been given, and it sounds like Jedi investigating crimes. Maybe not necessarily as in a procedural, although I would like to see that show, like a Jedi Law and Order. That would be cool.
Right.
But it says here that let's see. Details about the Acolyte is trickled out slowly, including potential production timelines and actors being cast. Basically, that. It says that it is a mystery thriller that sees a young Padawan reunite with her Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes during the final days of the High Republic era. So that part, I guess we guessed right on that one. While the plot details still leave plenty of mystery for eager audiences, it also sets up a unique series in the Star Wars world. And then it kind of goes on from there about the synopsis, which we won't get into. So yeah, it's a different. We're still going back to Jedi and Sith, but we're getting something a little bit different. So and I'm kind of curious about this. So I'm looking forward to seeing whenever it pops off. Next up,
the story of the Rebel Alliance being told on the Star Wars series Andor will apparently bring the story back to Yavin 4 during the show's developing second season. While discussing the hiring of new writer Tom Bissell with Collider, Andor showrunner Tony Gilroy alluded to the planet, which the rebellion famously turned into a key base, making a return in key season 2 scenes. Okay.
Yeah. Black Adam star reveals reaction to big reshoots with Viola Davis's Amanda Waller. I guess spoilers.
I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Aldous Hodge, who plays Hawkman, spoke with The Hollywood Reporter and revealed when Davis got involved with Black Adam. Quote, so when we first shot the movie, Viola Davis wasn't in it at all. We had all completely different scenes. When we did reshoots, I saw her name on the script, and I said, oh, shit, Hodge shared. I worked with Viola when I was 12 or 14 on a show called City of Angels, and even though we weren't face-to-face, it was awesome to share the screen with her again and something of this magnitude. So that's cool. Next up.
So after being spotted as a new character in The Flash Season 9 set photos, actress Javisha Leslie has confirmed she will be suiting up again as the Arrowverse's Batwoman. So The Flash is going to come to an end in 2023. And let's see here. Batwoman, if you remember, was canceled after 3 seasons, but Leslie will be appearing in The Flash Season 9, but apparently as more than one Arrowverse character. Okay.
Sure, yeah. Apparently, yeah. Yeah, she played like Red Death. I don't know who that was supposed to be, but in addition to her Batwoman character, so that's interesting. Still not caught up. Titan showrunner hints at potential Superman appearance. Quote, stay tuned. And this is a spoiler for season 4, 2-episode premiere. And I think this is pretty much spoiler when I say the titles, Lex Luthor and Mother Mayhem. If that doesn't give you an idea of at the very least where they're going to be, I don't know what to tell you.
I got to tell you, I stopped watching this a while ago.
I keep saying I'm gonna try to catch up with it, but I can't bring myself to do it because I think I didn't get as far as you did with it. So I think I got to like the first, I think I got halfway through the first season, but whatever that was at the time. So yeah.
Okay.
Next up.
So this particular this next story makes me want to watch it even less. HBO Max's Titans introduced Brother Blood to season 4, and the show has altered the character's origin story to incorporate a common trope for villains. All right. So apparently the character starts off as an awkward nerd similar to other villain origin stories in various media, such as Kristen Wiig's Cheetah in Wonder Woman 1984. Keep reading, not spoiling everything. So yeah, that's pretty lame.
Yes. They've altered the deal. Pray they don't alter it further.
No.
Warner Brothers Discovery loses $2.3 billion, hints at imminent price hike for HBO Max. Thank you. So yeah, the Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav continued to defend the deep cuts to the company's animation and streaming lineups during an earnings call, signaling that more could be on the way after absorbing a $2.8 million net loss in the most recent quarter, which is kind of funny considering half the stuff they cut, including Batgirl, by the way, was supposedly for tax write-offs.
Right.
Weird. Spending money, quote unquote, spending money with abandon, all in the service of building sub numbers is in our view deeply flawed. Zaslav said during the call. His comments follow a period in which Warner Bros. Discovery has aggressively slashed its animated offerings, canceled movies like Batgirl, the aforementioned Batgirl, and removed shows and movies from services like HBO Max. I'm sitting here like, wait, what other services outside of Discovery do they have? So yeah, that's that. Just get that dude out of there or something.
Yeah, confusing times for anyone who is, a regular user of HBO Max.
Right.
I did read something prior to the show that I believe the Godzilla vs. Kong movie is about to drop off HBO Max.
Yes.
And I'm like, why? But I guess it's going to another service so that they can make some money.
I guess so, because I think they did the same thing. Well, no, they didn't do this. Because that Mortal Kombat movie also did the same thing, and Matrix Resurrection also did that, I believe. But I don't think they went to any other services, so that's weird. Also, watch Craig of the Creek while you still can. And I'm not saying nothing's happening in that show, but I'm just saying it's a great show. You should watch it. And Gumball.
I was going to say, didn't they announce that it was canceled?
After this next season, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're still, because they're in season 4 now, and I think season 5 is their last season.
Okay.
Or is it season 4 is their last season? Either way, yeah, it is. They haven't canceled, but they still have some more shows coming. Ernie Hudson says Ghostbusters after.
Or no, I was about to say I got this one. Ghostbusters Afterlife director Jason Reitman and writer Gil Kanan have been hard at work developing the sequel for the film, which is apparently tentatively titled Firehouse. Ernie Hudson has come out, who we all know he plays Winston Zedmore in the franchise, has offered a little update. He has teased that he has read a version of the sequel script and he's excited about it. Okay.
He's seen shit that'll turn you white. I love saying. I just love saying that line. I don't know why it's so silly. Also, I still need to play that Ghostbusters game in which he has a role in, apparently, in due time. Guess what, folks? That low-budget horror Winnie the Pooh movie that came out is getting a theatrical release in the US, UK, Canada, and Mexico. So if you haven't seen it and for some odd reason want to see it, you can go to the theaters for one day on February 15th, which is a amusingly timed an amusingly timed date to put that on. But it says here that Fathom Events is set to release the thing for that one particular day next year, and also, if I'm not mistaken, that one of the people behind the film is also planning a twisted take on Peter Pan called Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare. So y'all have started some things here. That's all I'm going to say. Make it stop. Next up.
The Muppet Christmas Carol Extended Cut is finally getting its Disney Plus release next month. Disney released the original The Muppet Christmas Carol in 1992 to modest commercial and critical success. It has since enjoyed a niche following, spawning the 2002 sequel, It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie, and remains a Christmas staple among audiences for decades to come. Okay. And has remained a Christmas staple, that is.
Speaking of which, there's another holiday staple that is coming up soon, of which I forgot. Well, I intentionally didn't put the article in, but you will hear about it next week.
All right.
Zootopia Plus trailer teases 6 new stories for Disney Plus series. That is already out as of this recording, because it came out this past Wednesday. I guess I hesitate to call it an anthology series. And they don't call it that, but they call it a short form series. But it will take audiences back to the buzzing metropolis of Zootopia, of which I still have not seen all of. But if you have, and you like that movie, here's some more Zootopia for you. There you go. Next up.
Alrighty. The John Wick prequel series, The Continental, will launch internationally on Prime Video. So in the US, the Lionsgate television series will instead launch on Peacock. The Continental is planned as a 3-episode event series, with each episode being 90 minutes long. Okay.
Which that may have been, I think that's been said before, but I don't remember. And you get the good article. Not saying this next one isn't, but nevertheless. Keanu Reeves and the Ian McShane both are confirmed to be returning to be reprising their roles, but in the spin-off movie The Ballerina, which is in the same universe as John Wick, if you did not, if that wasn't clear. So according to Collider, the actor will reprise his role as John Wick in the Ballerina, which I still don't remember that character. Like I kind of vaguely remember like that scene where it's a ballerina showing up, but I don't remember them focusing on any particular one. So I'm sitting here like, who and which one and why?
Doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, that's like ripe. That's ripe for storytelling. Like that whole Academy look. You know what I mean?
I suppose. So yeah, says it is currently unknown how the 2 John Wick characters will factor into the spin-off's plot and how large their roles will be in the film. I'm just going to posit probably not that much. But yeah. But if you're getting them to, you might as well hopefully make it significant at the very least, if you're going to go ahead and put that information out there. But next up in big news.
Well, I was about to say, who's whatchamacallit? Who is, I forget who the lead actress is in Ballerina.
Anna.
It's someone big.
Anna, what's her face?
Anna Dormus, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's big.
I mean, yeah. But again, like I said,
she's a prime actress right now, and no pun intended. But at the end of the day, that's I think that's ripe for storytelling, for expanding the John Wick universe.
Sure.
Once they introduce that whole like school concept. So
yeah, I remember it was basically like the Red Room, but not. Yeah. So moving right along to the other big story in that universe.
Yes, I posted this in my stories again at agent_70 on Twitter and on Instagram, but I posted this to my Instagram stories. A new John Wick Chapter 4 teaser trailer has been released, and it showcases Paris and tons of action. So, just as we've been saying, 2023 is going to be a great year for the John Wick franchise. We don't yet have the official release date of the Continental or Ballerina. We do know that John Wick Chapter 4 is coming in late March of 2023. So we do have the actual date. It's just not here in the article. Is it like March 23rd or something like that?
It's 23rd or 25th, one of those two. Yeah, but it's definitely the last week of March.
Yeah, I remember seeing 24th.
24th, yeah.
It says right here.
Okay.
Premieres. It's at the. I had to scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
They buried the lead on that one, folks. John Wick Chapter 4 premieres in theaters on March 24th, 2023. Donnie Yen features prominently in this trailer.
He does.
Which is very cool.
Mm-hmm. And apparently it's going to be the longest in the franchise, according to this related article, according to Chad Stahelski. So look out for that.
Looking forward to it, folks.
Yeah, kinda.
Looking forward to it.
Kinda. I can do with another John Wick. I saw somebody say a comic book creator saying that they was like that they couldn't do it after 3. They can't do it. But like, to each his own. They're still fun to me.
Yeah.
Like, they are starting to get a little bit longer than Tooth, but they're still fun enough where I can go for another one. And now we're going to go over into the anime corner. Of which I keep forgetting to put my little tags down. But the first Slam Dunk anime film reveals new promo video, main cast, theme song artists. So Toei Animation reveals in a live stream on, I guess, last Friday, in a live stream, a new promotional video for the first Slam Dunk, a new anime film from Takehiko Inoue's Slam Dunk basketball manga. The live stream will also reveal the film's main cast as well as theme song, as I said. I will not go over into the cast because I don't know any of these people. It's the Japanese cast anyway, and I'm not saying that that doesn't make them less, but I'm just saying, even if I were to read these names off, not many of you would know this. Unless you're just that hardcore, you probably are. The film will open in Japan on December 3rd. The movie will have IMAX screenings in 40 cinemas all over Japan, and Dolby Atmos screenings in 34 cinemas starting on December 3rd. The movie will get Dolby Cinema screenings starting December 10th. No word whether or when it's going to come to the U.S. Next up.
Crunchyroll announced on this past Tuesday, that it will hold the world premiere for the Trigun Stampede anime's first episode at Anime NYC, coming up on November 18th in just a few days. Wow.
Oh,
Later this it's next week, folks.
Yep, same day Pokemon comes out.
The official website. I'm sorry?
Same day Pokemon comes out.
The official website for the anime also made the announcement. I'm like, yeah, okay.
I know, because Agent 70 is not a video gamer. That's why when he brushed past it, that's why I messed him up. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anime NYC previously announced that it will host staff members from CG Anime Studio Orange who are working on the anime, including chief producer and producer. The screening will take place during the panel featuring the staff. Okay.
I want to watch this. I am going to watch this. I feel it, but I don't know, the art style, between art style and a character that doesn't show up. I don't know how to feel about it. That's all I can say. But I will watch it because I like Trigun. I like Trigun a lot. Chainsaw Man creator reveals Denji's terrible prank. I'm not going to read too much of this because I still haven't caught up with the last couple episodes. But there's spoilers for episode 5 of Chainsaw Man, which is out there now.
You're not up to date?
No, I am not.
Oh, it's too bad.
Next up.
All right, Bleach's Chad voice actor Jameson Price will no longer voice people of color characters. Okay. None of this means anything to me because I never watched dubs. Jameson Price, the voice actor behind Yasutora Sado, aka Chad, in the English dub of the original Bleach anime, has confirmed he will not appear in the dub of Thousand Year Blood War by choice. Okay. Because he says representation matters, access matters.
Right.
Okay.
Which is, you know what? Good for him. Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him.
Like I said, I have no clue who this person is because I don't watch dubs.
Yes. That is true. Which, to be fair, that character didn't really say much in either. Or at least from what I've watched in Bleach, that character doesn't really say that much. So I can only imagine. I remember what he said because I remember watching the dub once. But yeah, sure. Anywho's, next up, Bleach 1000 Year War gets bloody with Kenpachi's comeback. Which I've seen people were like, yeah, we love Kenpachi. It's just I'm like, okay, he's a lunatic. That's why you like him? Sure. But anyway, Bleach 1000 Year Blood War has finally brought Kenpachi Zaraki to the new anime, and he's really exploded onto the scene with the same kind of brutality fans fell in love with in the first anime over a decade ago. The first few episodes have fully thrust the Soul Society into a huge invasion from the Stenritter forces, and with it has revealed that each of the captains are now facing a much deadlier group of foes that they have ever faced in the past. But this is a different case for Kenpachi, as he easily mows through the very same enemies. Sure, not surprising there. Won't go much further because I'm not up to date on that either. Next up.
All right, so we're transitioning over to the manga. Yes, I know that's one of the anime transitions, but give me a break here, folks. Jujutsu Kaisen reveals how strong special grade sorcerers can be. So it's getting ready for the climax. The manga is getting ready for the climax of the Culling Game arc. And the newest chapter of the series has teased just how dangerous of an entity the special grade sorcerers really are. Okay. Not going to go too much into it, but at the end of the day, we've only seen these characters use their abilities to the fullest at rare opportunities.
Yes. Gojo's OP. We all know this.
Yeah, pretty much.
My Hero Academia details Koda's new form and ultimate move. This is this is a spoiler for the latest chapter. Won't really go too far into that, but apparently he's got a new look, or they have a new look. I don't know this character, so let me hush. Yes,
I was about to say I'm up on this. I don't know if I read this one, to be honest. I'm gonna go double check because I did see. I am keeping up with My Hero Academia. As it races towards a conclusion, because that's really what they're teasing, but there seems to be still a long way to go in terms of the manga. But yeah, I'm gonna just double check this after I read the next story.
Oh, basically, shonen trope. I'll just say, I'll say that.
No, not exactly.
Well, I'm going by what I'm reading here.
Right. I will say that. It doesn't carry that particular storyline because without spoiling it, in a world where almost everyone has superpowers, much like in comics, the ones who don't get more severe. Think of that planet of I forget the name of the planet during Dan Slott's Fantastic Four run.
Oh, Spire.
Where is that what the planet was called?
I believe that's the case. Where they are, what are they called? The Undefeated or the Unparalleled.
Right, yes. Exactly. The Unparalleled. Yeah. Right.
It was called Spire.
So remember, there was a right. So if you recall, there is a distinction between the people that get powers that don't change their physical appearance and the ones that do. Right. And that's where this storyline, or at least the sub part of the story.
Right. There was a word Eternals parallel in that particular situation, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Alrighty, next up. Japanese publishing and entertainment company Kadokawa Corporation has reached an agreement to acquire majority control of the media business of anime news site Anime News Network from its owner, Canadian company Anime News Network Inc. The company's announced. Kadokawa is proceeding with the acquisition to further strengthen Kadokawa's global marketing efforts relating to the digital and physical products handled by Bookwalker Yen Press LLC and J Novel Club LLC. Okay.
Say it again. Kadokawa. Woo! Okay. You know what? You take this next one.
All right, give me a second. I was going to look up My Hero Academia, but fine. Here we go. Let me open this up. And the story is over 2 years after the end of Haruichi Furudate's hit volleyball manga Haikyuu, the gag manga Let's Haikyuu will also end its run. As reported by Otaku USA Magazine, the spin-off four-panel manga Let's Haikyuu will release its final chapter, chapter 294, on November 12th. That is today, because we have passed midnight during our recording and broadcast. The gag manga, created by Retsu, retells the story of Haikyuu, but in a more lighthearted and silly manner. Let's Haikyuu began its serialization in September 2014 until July 2018 before it went on hiatus, and we started again in October 2020. At the moment, the series has 10 tankobon volumes. Okay, so shout out to Haikyuu. If you have not watched the anime, it is phenomenal.
Gia. And now we get into comic book news. And that was quite appropriate because Spider-Man and Doctor Strange joined new Monica Rambeau series. Don't know why she needs it, but hey, sure. It says here that the first look for Marvel's new Monica Rambeau Photon that sees the titular hero battling a new enemy with some help from Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Wong.
Wong is everywhere.
Wong is everywhere. Monica Rambeau Photon is a new 5-issue limited series from writer Eve L. Ewing, artist Luca Maresca, and Ivan Fiorelli, and colorist Carlos Lopez. An early first look at the first issue in the series pretty much says what I just said at the beginning of this. Sees Monica joining Doctor Strange and Wong at the Sanctum Sanctorum for reasons that remain unknown. She's called away by a new enemy. We won't go so far into there because I'm pretty sure we'll be talking about it when that book comes out December 14th. And rest assured, we will. Next up.
Okay, so I did not read this past weekend's My Hero Academia, so I am going to have to catch up on that after the show.
Good thing I didn't go
I also wanted to mention, and obviously we're not getting paid to cross promote anything here, but in this Week in Marvel podcast, Eve Ewing is a guest, and she does an excellent job. I would recommend this episode to anyone who's actually looking to write comics. I know that Roddykat has expressed some interest in this, so I would recommend that to him and anyone else who is interested in possibly writing comic books to take a listen to Eve L. Ewing's interview. The interview she gives on the This Week in Marvel podcast this week.
Nice, yeah, and I believe she comes from the world of novels, and it's National Novel Writing Month, which is still going on, and hopefully everybody who is participating is getting their words in.
Right, as well as being an academic. She's a professor.
That's true.
So, that's she's talented and does diverse things. So, it was very evident that she has a deep love for genre, and at the same time has a lot of things to say about a lot of writing.
Yeah,
in and of itself.
Yes. So yeah, I would definitely be checking that out.
I would recommend that.
Yeah.
All right, next up. So a trailer released by Marvel Comics is celebrating a new era of Iron Man comics. The Armored Avenger is getting a new creative team in writer Jerry Duggan and artist Juan Frigeri. Together, they are relaunching the Invincible Iron Man, which will feature familiar foes like Living Laser and new rivals like X-Men villain Fei Long. Iron Man's 60th anniversary kicks off in 2023, so there's no better time to follow Tony Stark's exploits than now. A trailer for December's Invincible Iron Man #1 showcases never-before-seen artwork from Frigeri, along with Tony Stark once again hitting rock bottom.
I was kind of wondering if Fei Long was actually going to interact with anybody outside of the X Corner. And who better than Tony Stark, who has also did some similar body modifications? Extremist anybody? I'm pretty sure that's probably going to come up.
Probably.
Marvel's Spider-Gwen gets her own Clone Saga in new series. It says here, what happens when you cross Spider-Man's Clone Saga with the Sinister Six? You get Ghost Spider, Shadow Clones, a new 5-issue limited series pitting Gwen Stacy, the Spider-Woman of Earth 65, against the army of Gwen clones based on Spider-Man's greatest villains. Excuse me. Earlier this year, Spider-Gwen Gwenverse miniseries reimagines Ghost Spider, as multiversal variants like Thor Gwen, Gwen Rogers, and Gwen Howlett Wolverine. In March 2023, the web-slinging superhero will find out what happens when she meets new Gwen clones crossed with Spidey villains, Dr. Octopus, Sandman, and the Vulture, all designed by acclaimed artist Peach Momoko. So, okay, cool. Then it gets into the synopsis from there. They're really pushing this whole Gwenverse thing. But then again, they've been doing that with a couple of Spider characters, so not a surprise. Next up.
I have to admit that when Roddykat started talking about Fei Long from that previous article that I read,
okay,
I was thinking of the Street Fighter character.
I can see why.
I completely forgot about that character being in X-Men and I believe X-Men Red.
Correct, yes.
So I had to look that up. I was like, what was he talking about? Oh, okay, I remember that. I remember that storyline.
Yeah.
All right. Since Namor the Submariner has surfaced in the MCU, as we talked about earlier, Marvel is collecting classic Silver Age comics featuring Namor in Mighty Marvel Masterworks Namor the Submariner Volume 1. The quest begins, on sale in a few days, November 15th. And it's going to be a 176-page trade paperback collecting a whole bunch of issues. I'm looking for a price point. Retailing for $15.99, Mighty Marvel Masterworks Namor Volume 1 is on sale again, as I said, November 15th.
Imperious Rex.
Yep.
Dang it, I hate when I do that. Blink. Marvel teases big changes to Wolverine in new preview, which is a preview of this week's Wolverine 27, and I won't go too far into it because I know Agent 70 is going to read it, even though he has already skimmed it and kind of has an idea of what's
I have not even skimmed it.
I thought you said you did. Okay.
No, I wanted to skim it, but I ran out of time.
Gotcha. Well, there you go. There's a preview out there for those who are interested because there's a change. There's going to be a big change to Wolverine. Next up.
All right, next up. So in the accompanying article that I'm talking about, Comic Book Resources has an exclusive preview of Immortal X-Men #8, which is set to uncover a shocking secret about Krakoa's most important couple, namely Mystique and Destiny. So, not going to go into all the details, but this is set to come out with a cover price of $3.99 on November 16th, next week. So we will find out soon enough.
Yippers. Marvel's Midnight Suns prequel short recruits Scarlet Witch and Magik. So yeah, on the Marvel Suns YouTube channel, I believe they have been there's been at least one or two other shorts that are prequels to the upcoming Midnight Suns video game, and this one is called A New Sun Must Rise, and this article goes into what it's about. But you know what? If you are interested in that video game as probably about as much as I am, you should go check out the prequel. I watched a couple of those. They seem all right. Yeah. But the game's going to be out on December 2nd, and I will hopefully have it and play it. Because because it's interesting. It seems like an interesting way to take those characters. Next up.
So, if you're a fan of this show, it means that you're a fan of comic books or you're interested in comic books. So there's a particular development in Wakanda Forever that should not be a big surprise to you, but it can be for some people. I know that some things are spoiled to me by Marvel Legends figures. So this article is a possible spoiler for the movie. So I'm going to just hit the spoiler bell and not go too much into detail here. So to prepare fans for the highly anticipated release of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Hot Toys has debuted a first look at its upcoming 6th scale collectible based on Marvel Studios' new Black Panther. And these images were shared on Hot Toys' official Instagram account. So this is probably the most detailed look yet at the costume for fans and potential cosplayers.
Yes,
I'll leave it at that, folks.
And if you've seen the official last trailer for Wakanda Forever, you've seen glimpses of it as well. So it probably won't be too much of a spoiler, but still, if you want to stay, the mostly spoiler-free light, or is free of that, yeah, maybe not. That's why I'm not scrolling down in this article. So because this one picture is enough.
Yep.
It's a good looking suit, though, I will say. Interesting choice made. Dungeons and Dragons heads back to Dragonlance with new campaign and board game tie-in. So, D&D's next adventure is both a return to a classic setting and an attempt to integrate a classic type of fantasy story into tabletop role-playing. Set for release next month, Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen brings Dungeons and Dragons players back to Krynn, the home of the Dragonlance campaign setting. The campaign itself will follow players as they intercede in an early part of the War of the Lance, with the forces of Tahisis invading eastern Solamnia. Also included are several new player options, including Kinders, a race tied closely to Dragonlance, a new sorcerer subclass focusing on lunar magic, and several feats that allow players to join one of Krynn's iconic factions like the Mages of High Sorcery or the Knights of Solamnia. I'm probably butchering that. Apologies. It goes on. It will be released on December 6th with DMD Beyond subscribers receiving early access to digital material on November 22nd. Pre-orders are live on Amazon if you so wish for the standalone book, and the Warriors of Krynn bundle is also available on Amazon. So, I just saw that there was a D&D game that has been going on for 40 years. That's ridiculous. But I would love to see what the heck how that started, and where could they have possibly gone in all that time. So, but anywho, next up.
Renowned actor and director Andy Serkis, who we've already talked about in this episode, who played Gollum in Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings trilogy as in addition to Kino Loy on Andor, has revealed that he will be narrating an upcoming audiobook of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion. All right.
I saw G. Willow Wilson saying that she and her kids listened to the other ones that he's done. I guess he's done Lord of the Rings. I guess the other trilogy, I assume.
Okay.
Yeah, before this, and does a fantastic job, which not a big surprise. So I guess the fact that he's doing Silmarillion is, and just finishing that
Makes
up.
sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Star Wars: The High Republic gets cracked open in a new awesome art book, which I believe came out this week. Now that I think about it, yes, The Art of Star Wars: The High Republic by Kristen Baver is out. It just came out on November the 8th. And it shows how much time, effort, and care has gone into crafting an entirely new era of Star Wars. Most audiences will only see in their minds, according to this article. says that is until the Acolyte comes out. Then it goes into the High Republic to talk about what the premise of the High Republic stuff is, which I need to actually get back into because I fell off of that book, and it just started another volume this week. Now that I think about it, so, but yeah, it's from accounts, it's a good looking art book, and if you are a fan of the High Republic stuff, you can go get it if you haven't already. Next up,
While Lionsgate still has 2 more John Wick movies on their way, the studio is reportedly also considering a big AAA game based on the franchise. During an earnings call last week, Lionsgate CEO John Feldheimer mentioned that the company has been discussing proposals for the game, though nothing is set in stone yet. Okay. There should be a big video game for John Wick.
there should.
Although seeing them replicate Gun Fu might be pretty difficult.
No, there's been games that's done it before. Max Payne famously is a game that's pretty much done gun fu, like Guns Akimbo at the very least. And then there was another there's another good John Woo game based off of Hard Boiled called Stranglehold that kind of did it. There's been games that's done it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm unfamiliar with all that stuff, so
Right.
I have to leave that to Roddykat.'s expertise.
There is, and I've talked about this before, another John Wick game that is actually out already. It had so much potential, unfortunately, was not good, and it was a turn-based strategy. So it had promise. It just wasn't that great, sadly. Next up, though, new Power Rangers Lightning Collection figures brings 2 more 6th Rangers to the collection. Oh, right, these 2. Hasbro has recently announced that a couple of new members of the Power Rangers Lightning Collection, like I said. Both of these figures are available to pre-order now through Hasbro Pulse, which actually reminds me of something I need to do after the show. Not having to do with Power Rangers, though. For $33.99 with a release set for March 2023. Those 2 Rangers are Andros from Power Rangers in Space and a Space Cycle. And also, as you can see, the pictures here, that's Andros. I mean, that's not Andros. Wait, Andros is Red Ranger. Zane is the Ranger's name, Silver Ranger. And the Blue Centurion is the other figure. So there you go, folks. Next up.
Unfortunately, due to the broader economic climate, it's been reported that by Funko Incorporated that they have a sharply higher inventory with mass stores, like chain stores, mass chains delaying or canceling orders in its quarter 3 and conference call, citing the broader economic climate. So that's tough.
Yeah. Which is also kind of slightly funny because my wife was watching The View and it was Whoopi Goldberg's birthday, and apparently she loves Funko Pops and was giving a bunch away, or giving a thing away. So who knew? First look at Batman Hush figure revealed by Todd McFarlane. Let's see. So fans of McFarlane Toys and the company's superhero collectibles will soon be able to own a Batman figure inspired by Hush storyline. Excuse me. It's getting late, folks. Founder Todd McFarlane shared a first look at the new Batman figure on Twitter, and he's rocking the blue and gray outfit, as you can see here from the video version. If you are so watching, which you should sometimes. Yeah, there we go. All its glory. It says the cover recreates the figure that is on of Batman 608, which I believe is Jim Lee's artwork. So there's that, and there's the picture. There's the cover itself. I'm looking for a price, which I am not seeing. So, but it says coming soon. So I guess we'll know more whenever that is the case. Next up.
Alrighty, next up. I'm sorry, I had to reload my sheet, so just give me a second.
Dum, ding, ding, dum, dum, ding, dum.
Sorry, folks. Let's see here. Where are we? McFarlane's Shazam 2 figure features a shockingly accurate face sculpt. So that's the gist of this story, folks. Zachary Levi, his likeness is very striking here on this 7-inch figure.
I can't remember if the trailer that's the new trailer for the new movie that's out is like brand new or not. But I know I saw it when I was in the theater.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did feature
Yeah.
before Wakanda Forever. I got the same one.
Mm-hmm. So interesting. DC's death.
I don't think it's brand new. I think that had dropped recently.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I don't remember seeing it or us talking about it. So DC's Death of Superman Anniversary and WildC.A.T.S lead new releases, which both of those came out. I forgot about the WildC.A.T.S #1 that came out this week, but I don't have the affinity of it, so I wasn't going to read it anyway. But I did mention that the Death of Superman Anniversary, 30th Anniversary special, also came out this week. So there you go. That's pretty much the crux of this article. Next up.
All right. Now we've got a string of sad stories.
Yes.
First up, Kevin O'Neil. Kevin O'Neil, comic artist and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen co-creator, has passed away. He is an iconic British artist. And let's see here. He worked on Nemesis the Warlock and Martial Law in the 1980s. I remember seeing his work on Martial Law from a friend who was a fan of the book. And his most famous project was, a lot of people remember, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in 1990. He launched that in 1999 with Alan Moore. And Kevin O'Neil was only 69 years old.
And yes, for those folks who've only seen the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie, yes, that is the comic book in question.
Yes.
Which, man, that's a movie.
I have not watched that movie.
I dare say you're not missing much.
Am I better off?
You probably, unless you want to see Sean Connery kind of phoning it in a little bit, but
Gotcha.
outside of that, you're not really missing much.
Understood.
Acclaimed comic book artist, which also kind of might put that on the movie thing that I have for my Discord. We'll see. Acclaimed comic book artist Carlos Pacheco has died following a battle with ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. He was 60 years old, from Spain, and started his career doing Spanish editions of Marvel Comics. Became a fixture in the American comics market in the mid-90s before becoming one of the most beloved artists in comics, with runs on titles like The Avengers and Superman. I know of him from his Avengers stuff.
Right, Avengers Forever specifically.
That's the one that people kept bringing up since he's passed. So the last couple of days. So yes. He revealed that's a typo. Wow. He revealed his diagnosis earlier this year, announced his retirement, and told fans that about his final published work would be a cover he did for Damage Control, which I believe came out a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, he passed on the 9th, which was a couple of days prior to this recording. So it was and of course, in true fashion, the comics creators were coming out and talking about their favorite stuff by him, and including that Avengers Forever, the stuff that he's done, which I find myself probably going back and rereading, because I vaguely remember that one. I mean, I've seen it and I think I've read it. I just don't remember it. So
I own it. I have it. I have at least the first issue, if not more, of it signed by Carlos Pacheco. I met him once because obviously he lives in Spain, and he was not a fixture at all. He made very rare East Coast Comic-Con appearances. I did not see him at a New York Comic-Con. It was at a smaller con. It might have been a Wizard Con when Wizard was still doing cons.
Okay.
I was very fortunate to have met him, and I was honored to, I shook his hand and had him sign. He did a piece for the Heroes 9/11 tribute book, and I'm pretty sure now, if I have the wherewithal to stay up tonight, or maybe just do it tomorrow, to check out my back issues and check out my Avengers Forever run and see what Carlos Pacheco signed, because I was very saddened to get this news on Wednesday.
Yeah, let's see. It says here that Marvel Comics issued a tribute to Pacheco on their official Twitter account, confirming that the artist has passed away. Quote, "We mourn the loss of a dear part of the Marvel family, comic artist and writer Carlos Pacheco," Marvel wrote. His legacy of iconic designs and storytelling like Avengers Forever, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Excalibur, was another place I remember his stuff from, Captain America, and more will be remembered. Our thoughts are with his loved ones. And it's safe to say we reiterate that also, that sentiment.
Absolutely. Rest in power.
Indeed. Next up.
Danny Bulanadi, longtime Marvel comic book inker who had years-long runs on both Captain America and Fantastic Four, part of his long association with penciler Paul Ryan, has passed away at the age of 76. Bulanadi was born in Manila, Philippines in 1946. He grew up copying American comic books that his mother would buy him. So he went to work with the legendary Filipino artist Tony D. Zuniga, and he had a very familiar friend to myself and fellow Filipino artist Romeo Tangal, who inked George Perez on New Teen Titans. That's how I know him. And they were at the forefront of the movement of DC's push to work with Filipino artists in the United States in the 1970s. So yeah, he was a trailblazer. He moved over to the Marvel side in 1980, where he became a regular inker there. So I don't recognize the name not nearly as much as Romeo Tangal, but at the end of the day, if I looked into my comics, I probably will see his name in various places.
Right. Yeah. Same here, but I can't say that I know too many inkers named currently anyway. So outside of those that we talk about, on the show. So there is that. Sonic Frontiers Prologue Convergence is out and it is free. So Sonic Frontiers is a video game in the latest in the Sonic franchise. It is out. I have seen a bunch of people playing it. If it wasn't that, it was God of War. But there apparently is, I don't know if this is a prequel book, but it's definitely a tie-in book to the video game that is out that you can go and download free, or excuse me, you can read, not download, excuse me, you can read freely on IDW's website, which if you go into the show notes, you can go and get that from the article. Next up.
All right, so I think this is our last story.
It is.
I'm just having some trouble pulling this up. Give me a second. Where's the link? Aha! Here we go. All right. Sorry, folks. I did not have an opportunity to open this up ahead of time. So a reprint of all Negro comics is available now on Kickstarter. So this is the first, and that was the first anthology of Black characters created by Black cartoonists, and it has been remastered for today's readers and beyond. The following is part of a press release. So 75 years ago, journalist Orrin C. Evans led a talented team of cartoonists to create All Negro Comics #1, the first comic book anthology of original Black characters created by Black talent, with the express purpose of entertaining while rejecting harmful stereotypes and pushing boundaries in the industry. This anthology is set to return via Kickstarter on November, so it happened last week. Actually, earlier this week, on November 7th, 2022, with an archival reprint of the book, and it has some new stories by Black creators. For more information, please go to All Negro Comics. The book was originally released in 1947, only 8 years after Action Comics #1. And 6 years after Captain America #1. Right. And a whole 19 years before Black Panther hit the pages of Fantastic Four. Okay.
There you go. I'm looking at the Kickstarter now, and they had a pledge goal of 6,000, of which they have now doubled, or they have doubled as of now, and they still have
good for them.
24 days to go. I might actually try to back this. There's a couple things I've been wanting to back on Kickstarter. We shall see. And that is it, folks. The last thing before we leave the
I do actually have a little bit of Toy Corner.
Okay, well, then before we do that, I would just like to interest the video versions of this nice picture of the MCU's Namor doing a Kamehameha. He's not really.
Oh, you have that up?
I do have that up, yeah.
Okay.
It's not. He's actually doing that, but it was. Yeah. Anyway, what do you have for us, sir?
I always chuckle. Is that how they pronounce it in the dub? Kamehameha?
Yeah, so, with emphasis on certain things at times, but yes.
Oh, because I'm just like, why does he pronounce it like that? It's Kamehameha.
I mean, they also pronounce it like that. Also depends on when.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Depends on when and how fast they're trying to put one out.
Understood.
Yes.
Oh, like I said, folks, I say this all the time. I watch the subs. So, for Toy Corner this week, I wanted to mention that an old buddy surprised me with a Marvel Legends gift, and it was of his favorite. One of his favorite characters growing up, and it was something that I had mentioned that I had been looking for and had not yet acquired, and that is from the Bone Breaker Build-A-Figure wave of X-Men Marvel Legends. It's specifically the OG Havoc. So I am going to hold this very still so that people can see what this looks like. I may have to drop my virtual background. Oh, no, here we go. So as you can see, it is, it's not that different from the more modern take of Havoc that we've gotten. It's still a very basic black costume, but the headdress is much more traditional than the Uncanny Avengers version of Havoc that we got some years back. So I'm glad to have received this. Thank you for the gift. Thank you so much.
That was cool. I'm also kind of shocked that you didn't already have one.
I hadn't gotten around to it. Like I said, it came up in conversation.
Right. Gotcha. Well, with that, folks, let us get one more ad read out of the way.
Our last ad read of the night, and you know what we read when it's late, and we've been at this for a while. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, that is it for this show for this week. We don't really have much for next week, cinematic wise. I mean, we've got another episode of Andor. I think that's about it, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we have two more.
Yeah. I know that that Guardians of the Galaxy special's coming up, but that's like in 2 weeks. So, and I will probably be watching it. Who's to say? I mean, why not? We're already in for it. Either way, I don't see anything else on the horizon for that. So, we'll be back at our regular bat channel. That's pretty much what we're going to say. So, I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CPCaps on Instagram. If you look closely at one of those places, you can see my face, partial of my face, before I take that post down. Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. I don't do face reveals, folks. This is all you're gonna get. This is it. And Agent 70 will tell you, I used to not do that. But anyway, PC and underscore dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com is on all these umbrella sites therein. Tim, DOGG98 on Twitter, CB Cron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. The Kliq Nation on Twitter, which TheKliqNation, all one word, thekliqnation.com. And, of course, he is over at comicbook.com, where he's over there writing his face off. Face Off is a terrible movie, but in this regard, it's fine. You can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network, that's cspn.us.
Do it today.
And if you like Face Off, you can fight me or bite me. One of the two, because it's not good.
Shots fired!
If you want a good John Woo Hollywood movie, Mission Impossible 2. There you go. Or just go to his older stuff. Hard Boiled.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yes. Hard Boiled, The Killer, Better Tomorrow. That stuff. I don't even know what's going on with that new Better Tomorrow or what. But whatever. Old stuff. Thumbs up. Way up. Where was I? You can also find us on your podcast perusal plays of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, yes, or aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and leave us all the 5-star reviews.
As soon as I find a good copy of Hard Boiled, that will be shown on. That will be a movie that's going to come up somewhere. Because I already got a copy of The Killer. We're good. You know what, let me stop that. You can also find us recording every Thursday night to 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, where we thank folks for being here in the audience, whether you have lurked or spoke.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, get on our Twitch feed. No, is it Twitch?
It's Twitch, yeah.
Yeah, Twitch. Yeah, subscribe to that, please, so we can, post some older content. Leave us all the reviews that are good.
Yeah. And with that, folks, we will be back next week, same bad time, same bad channel, like we said. But on our regular night, go out and see Wakanda Forever if you so plan to, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you didn't like it, don't, because I don't want to hear that nonsense. If
no,
you didn't like
it's okay.
It's
we'll, it's. I happen to think that if you have some criticism of it, I think the fairest criticism is that there's just a little bit too much movie for this movie. But
there was some heavy lifting with all they did with it. But I don't, it is what it is. But no, I was.
If you're not a fan of, and I was gonna say, if you're not a fan of Disney Plus. If you don't keep up with the Disney Plus stuff, more and more, you kind of needed to figure out why certain characters appear.
Especially one that was quite surprisingly more prominent than I expected they would have been.
Right. With a tie-in to a character that was not from the comics.
Yes, exactly. That threw me off.
I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, what?
Yes. Watch the movie, you'll understand. If you've
exactly. We're not spoiling anything,
yes,
folks.
indeed.
We're just saying, we're making very open, kind of broad statements about a certain character.
Indeed. And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Before I peace out, I want to just remind everyone, right over left. Peace 1. Wakanda Forever!